It's very hot outside, the height of summer. Spares no one. The sun beats down on her head. The girl whines that everything hurts. She feels like she's falling apart. She shouts to someone that she's almost finished. The man shouts back for some reason. The lady speaks as if she were an old woman, although she seems to be still quite young. Smiling, the brunette apologizes. She lived with her grandmother for too long. In fact, I really want to shut the young man's mouth so that he won't object anymore. But there is no way out. The work is finally finished. The beauty smiles, promising that she will return later. There was no need to welcome the eccentric so warmly. The heroine acts as if she has the right to leave after one simple task. But that is not the case. 7 years have passed since she arrived in this inconspicuous village, and it is very difficult to adapt to the flat climate. The beauty is completely sunburned and blames the sun for it. It's no wonder she's having a hard time. Previously, her place of residence was listed as Bentrak, a village in the north where the snowstorms on the barren land only stopped in the summer. On the day it all started, the snow was terribly heavy. Everything was the same. The girl was thinking about what to do. It was difficult to get food. There was no choice. In any case, otherwise the grandmother would be upset that nothing was brought. Celia was a 13-year-old girl, still very young. The heroine's parents died in an avalanche. This happens often in Bentrak. No one is even surprised by this anymore. Dozens of peasants disappear every year. The village is surrounded by an impassable mountain range. When the couple passed away, the grandmother decided to raise the baby alone, realizing there was no way out. However, in the middle of winter, she fell ill. Stopping to take a short rest, the girl exhales angrily. Her knees ache and her body begins to lose strength. Unfortunately, there is nothing to eat in this place. Either there is only snow all around. It seems that the search was in vain. Something glitters in the distance. It immediately attracts attention. The little girl does not believe that she is not sleeping. Perhaps there is a fruit in front of her. Grabbing the food, she thinks that she should take it to Grandma. But first she still takes a bite. She managed to swallow a whole half. Her eyes widen in horror. The taste is truly awful, as if the delicacy had been spoiled long ago. The brunette struggles with herself. She has no right to spit out the food. After all, she found it with such difficulty. When the heroine had already decided that nothing was working and was about to get rid of the terrible food, someone behind her screamed. She was frightened, and yet the grain got into her stomach. The stranger asks if the lady understands what she has actually just done. That day, the heroine saw such a beautiful man. For the first time, the young man had blonde hair, blue eyes, and snow-white skin. He looked like a sculpture in a museum, but it turned out that he was also completely naked, without any clothes at all. The hero will probably die in this state because there is still a terrible frost outside, which not everyone can cope with. Without listening, the man points to the food and menacingly asks if the one standing in front of him ate the fruit. Of course she tries to deny it. It's clear the lady is lying. There are crumbs on her lips. Quickly wiping her face, the little girl understands that nothing can help her. The blonde is yelling at her. The essence couldn't have reached a human. The brunette made a terrible mistake by daring to touch it. As soon as the man left his place for a short while, everything went wrong, even if he didn't see a problem in it when he left, knowing that he would return in 10 minutes. In return, he threatens to eat the beauty's heart, her beautiful face distorted by an evil light. Blue eyes freeze in horror, the pupils reflecting the person who seems about to finish everything. The essence that is being talked about is known to be completely absorbed into the human heart within 10 years. You will have to wait a little, but that is not a long time. For now, in order not to waste time, the young man promises to remove her arms and legs and hang her body on a tree so that she cannot escape. The little girl begins to scream, not understanding how else to protect herself. She hopes that God will help her at least once. The girl jumps back, because she still managed to escape what luck the man tries to get up. After all, there is snow all around. He has no time left at all. This is clear, even if there is only half of the essence left. It does not matter, now let there be at least something. The body catches fire and gradually begins to increase in size. After a few seconds, a huge golden dragon appears in front of the girl. The person is incredibly lucky they won't kill her right now, but in 10 years, their heart will be taken to get that very piece of fruit. A voice flashes through her head. The young man will find the girl even in the next world, so there is no point in trying to hide, it is useless. Celia jumps up again, the same dream reminiscent of the past in front of her, stands Rowena, her old friend, who worriedly asks what happened. The brunette waves it off. She's fine, she's just tired, it's all history. Now maybe the girl was so hungry that she started hallucinating, making her see a dragon. The beauty talks about what she heard. One of the soldiers said that some important person was coming to them. It seems that the guy had something stolen a long time ago. He said that he waited a whole decade to get it back. Apparently, according to the words, some northerner hid the thing and then fled to the plains to hide from whatever punishment awaited him. The guest's name is Calix. The girl immediately freezes and even screams. It's quite difficult for her to control herself. In such moments, they really make her worry that dragon was real. After all, but it's still hard to believe it. Something needs to be thought of. The little girl quickly figures out what can be done to at least try to save her life. Rowena asked what was wrong. Someone grabbed her by the shoulders, asking about the dye. Her friend needs it to be suitable for her hair. The beauty shakes her head to show agreement. She only has one color left. It's a bit strange for hair, without listening to the end. The brunette bows her head and begins to beg for the dye to be given to her. The heroine had black hair, from birth skin as white as snow and cornflower blue eyes. This appearance is typical for all northerners. Only occasionally other types are found. Calix probably remembered the lady like this. He decided that everything was exactly like this, and now he is looking for the lady. Having entered the hut, the friends decided to begin the hair procedure. Several hours passed. It was taking an unbearably long time, but the lady consoled herself that after this it would be easier now that everything was finished. The blue-eyed one looked like a small tree. I want to scream, asking if this is all true in reality, but this is the wrong move. The little girl is trying to calm herself down. She needs to save her energy. Now no one will recognize her as a resident of the North. At the moment, this is the most important thing. The beauty thought until the very end that everything was fine. But when she found herself on the master's doorstep, he began to shout. The maid seemed to have grown moss instead of dressing up better. For this festive day, the maid did the opposite. Now she has a repulsive image. They interrupt the conversation. Kammerberg is informed that Calix has just arrived. It has finally happened. What a joy in order to properly greet the man. They are obliged to stand at his sides and throw flowers at his feet. The only problem is that the main character is the first in this line. I'd like to think that the dragon won't kill the lady, right in the middle of the red carpet in front of many people. Celia stands with her head down, hoping that everything will end soon. He will never recognize the lady. She will try to become better and behave diligently so as not to give herself away. The gentleman shouts at everyone, ordering them to line up. Finally, footsteps are heard in front of the door. The same man enters the main room. Next to him follows a brunette, who seems to be his assistant. The young man shines like the sun and is as handsome as then in the past. I want to notice only his beautiful facial features and eyes, but then my consciousness decides to play a cruel joke, and fragments appear in my head when the man threatened death. How he would deal with me and how terrible everything would be. The beauty hiccuped in fear, drawing a little attention to herself. She froze in even greater horror. thinking that in the end she had been recognized, which was not good. The dragon looked sternly at the petals. No one had the right to greet him like that. It was better to put all this trash away somewhere. The lady exhales. She almost falls to the floor. It seemed that a little more, and she would die of fear. The maid standing nearby whispered. It seemed that he had a terrible character, but an excellent appearance. The brunette thought that everything was over, but the master shouted, ordering to serve the guest. The man sits on a chair, examining those who are called into the room. The gentleman quietly asks what the purpose of the dragon's visit is. He lowers his voice, saying that he needs to find the person who took his property and eventually cowardly fled to the plains. When the court finally finds the stranger, he will rip out her heart and take what belongs to him. Such words make the blood run cold. Not that the lady has not heard all this before, but she clearly feels uneasy. The one the young man needs is in these territories. The blonde man calmly says that he's not sure yet how things are going. Should all the villagers be in the castle, or is that why he has to check? It turns out that only those who carry out the master's orders are missing. They can be summoned, or the criminal will be described in detail. Calix smirks while refusing what is offered to him. He is going to catch his prey himself. The girl stands in the corner huddled. The feeling of anxiety is enough for her at the moment. She cannot say anything about it. The brunette offers to stay at his estate until the search is over. For some reason, she is confident that she will be able to reach that person very early. There will be no problems with this. The blue-eyed girl tells herself to calm down. For now, she will not be recognized. After all, if the dragon stays in this place for a long time, no one knows how it will all turn out. You need to think about what to do next, to turn the situation to your advantage. The heroine is almost always nearby. The day drags on slowly, but she does not move away, constantly staring into the open. Finally, it was time for dinner. The man sat down at the table where he was served a variety of dishes. A rough voice cut through to ask the lady why she kept looking at him. The body seemed frozen. It was impossible to move from the spot. It was hard to believe that the heroine had given herself away. I want to try to justify myself by saying that the honored guest hasn't visited them for a long time. So I became curious. In fact, the girl isn't just showing her true emotions. She's actually watching every step. There's nothing more to say. I feel like crying. Leaning closer after he got closer, the young man calmly asks again what the reason is. Any ridiculous reason is needed to look away. Now the girl's head is in a mess. She is not able to think normally. I remember the various words of the maids. Many said that the young man was as beautiful as a real sculpture. Opening her mouth, the lady quickly replies that she truly fell in love and at first sight when they met. It still seems like it will help somehow, but the woman can't help but reproach herself for blurting it out. She should have been more careful. Questions are running through her head. It's unclear why she said exactly this out of all the options offered. The brunette understands that she needs to fix everything as soon as possible, as far as it is possible. At the moment, she herself does not understand what she is saying. Smiling, the girl notes that she is very strong and also gets up early, can wash in cold water, and her hair does not fall out. With this entire list, the lady is obviously driving herself into a corner. It was a mistake to say something like that. The blonde man stops the monologue with displeasure, asking what should be done. He will definitely not marry her. If after such a confession she says that she doesn't want it, it will be strange. Realizing that she will have to overcome herself, the lady bows her head quietly, expressing her desire to get married. Turning around, the dragon remarks that there is no harm in dreaming. Joy immediately consumes the heroine. She did not think that she would be able to get out of such a dangerous situation. Rowena, standing nearby, gives a thumbs up of support, although she is actually finding it extremely difficult not to laugh, because the whole thing looked lame. Calix asks if his bedroom has been prepared. He needs to rest a bit after the journey. The gentleman promises that they will carefully prepare everything and will definitely send the best servants who will ensure a good time. The man believes that no one is satisfied with him, so he points his hand forward directly at the beauty. No one but her is satisfied with him. She is definitely needed. The young man still remembers what happened 10 years ago, so he does not lose hope of finding his own. Finally, he had one last transformation left. Nothing complicated. It would seem that everything will end peacefully every 100 years. Dragons change their appearance, and this happens 6 times. Only at the last break does the animal become an adult. Of course, he had no choice. He had to quickly accept that treasured essence. Calix is one of the strongest dragons in the world. He is golden. They say that the first of them once fell in love with a goddess, and she took him to heaven. The blonde always considered his ancestors strange, because such a thing seems unpleasant. He himself is too busy admiring himself to worry about anyone else. The golden dragon had no right to act so rashly, condemning everyone else to eternal suffering. With this essence, a voice was heard. The young man turned his head to see the brunette, who apologized for disturbing him. In front of him is a dark one of the same kind. His name is Roman. He just needed to make sure that the master would successfully complete his transformation. Calix snorts. Only his assistant can worry about such things. Completely unimportant. It just so happens that the leader screws up too often. This is not an insult, but the truth. On the 5th time, the man did not take his medicine and slept for 10 years, once he founded a country in the human world and then abandoned it to its fate. In his foolishness, the young man accepted flowers from the scarlet dragoness and almost got married without even thinking that the gesture meant consent. Similar blunders had happened countless times. In Calix's opinion, the young man was exaggerating, but of course it wasn't he who had to solve all the problems.
The brunette can't argue. He checked and can only think about how everything will be next. He can only hope that everything will be fine. They will meet in this place in 10 years. The portal has closed. Only silence remains. Finally, there is an opportunity to accept the essence.
Before putting the food in his mouth, the young man realized something that made him embarrassed. He needed the holy stone. Of course, he managed to forget about this. It would not end well. Calix would return very soon. He left. Through the portal, leaving the essence in the snow. Such food contains the dragon's magical power. It is the key to existence and a source of strength. A dragon that has lost its essence is no different from a lizard, so it is valued like the apple of one's eye and can only be shared with someone the animal recognizes as its destiny. When the boy returned, he froze in horror because the girl sitting in front of him was calmly chewing what he left, and a wave of anger immediately rolled over him, which was true. All these words were nonsense. Fate does not exist. The prince was not going to share with anyone. He does not remember how it all ended. A veil covered his eyes. The blonde brings the beauty standing next to him out of her thoughts. She was buttoning her shirt and seemed distracted, starting to worry. Of course the lady is worried. She can't speak calmly. But it's true. She doesn't like looking after guests, let alone bathing. The beauty cannot help but be angry. Of course she cannot say out loud and show that she is against it, because otherwise the end will come. But this does not mean that everything suits her. Not only will she have to contemplate the naked body of a man again, but there is also something else. Since she will have to bathe the hero, the maid has no idea at what point he will decide to bathe in her blood. She never wanted to die, which is why she ran away, and now it is scary to realize that everything will end so strangely. Thoughts took over again. That same hateful voice brought him out of his trance. The young man, of course, understands that the girl is crazy about him, but he needs to pull himself together and fulfill his duties before he fires her so that things don't get too bad. The brunette freezes. She thinks about what she was just told. It can't be said that this is the worst possible scenario. The blue-eyed one smiles while thinking about how she will arrange for the gentleman the most unforgettable bathing experience which will be different from all those that have happened before. Half an hour later, the procedures were over. The girl looked at the guy who had just gotten out of the shower and wrapped a towel around his hips. The human body couldn't be so beautiful. Although considering that there was a dragon in front of the lady, she had an irresistible desire to touch it. It's time for a bath. That's the most important thing. Now the heroine is still unable to look away. The lady forces herself to behave more favorably. Now she needs to focus on what she will do to get fired. At first, it is unclear how exactly to do everything correctly to irritate the dragon, but the girl understands that if she randomly rubs the brush on her back, it may leave a mark, but there is one catch. If the lady overdoes it, she will leave not only the estate, but also this world. The girl tries to be as careful as possible, but at the same time she observes all the details. She smiles maliciously, hoping that the young man will finally say that the maid is terrifying at what she does. She probably doesn't like it at all. Without even noticing what she was doing, the lady got as close as possible to the young man's face. He turned around, which startled her and made her drop the brush on the floor. The lady was shaking so much that it was difficult for her to pick it up. She promised that she would definitely bring a new one. The blonde man grinned, creating the impression that the beauty had never seen a living man. All the heroine did was slowly move the washcloth. So as not to accidentally anger anyone, the owner orders her to wash his hair. The girl feels as if she is being electrocuted. She hears a menacing voice pronouncing a name. At first she does not understand what it means. It turns out that the young man wants to be called Calix. Bowing her head, Celia promises that she will do everything properly because she believes that it is right. Her heart, as it feels, is now burning. She completely forgot that she will have to pronounce again that very name that makes the blood run cold in her veins. At first the lady wanted to force her to leave and ask her to bring another maid, but someone sitting in the bathroom is not so easily swayed. She's actually afraid that she will die if she suddenly does not work. Well enough she is afraid to even think about it, in fact. Although the hero is terribly frightening, one cannot help but admit that he is beautiful in his wonderful nature. The beauty understands that she must not be distracted. Think more about how to quickly finish the work. Soon everything will be completed, done in the best possible way. Finally, she will be able to escape from this hell. The brunette calls to Calix so that he can get up and dry himself strangely, but he seems not to hear her. Perhaps he wants the lady to continue further. But this is all extremely clear. It would be nice for the hero to move, but so far nothing has changed. Celine is tired of waiting for something. She calmly touches the young man's face with her palm to make it clear that everything is over. Of course, it did not end well for her. He jumps up from his seat and rushes around the room. The maid explains that she finished with his hair a long time ago. The expression on her face was still strange, but the lady couldn't do anything wrong. She seemed to be trying to complete her task to the best of her ability. Handing over a towel, the beauty offered to dry herself off. Of course, her help was immediately and happily accepted. It was impossible to refuse such an offer. For some reason, during such a simple procedure, the heroine blushed deeply. She tried to tell herself that everything would be fine, but it seemed that something was completely wrong. It was late evening today. The night sky was beautiful. It is always mesmerizing. In fact, the heroine really wants to go home all this time. She had to stay inside the room of her master, who was peacefully reading a book that he liked. He does not look like he is going to change anything. Bedtime is being postponed more and more, and I have to fulfill all the whims of a fool who thinks he can do anything. It all started the day. Celia decided to give a massage when she was asked to. She just wanted to make a little more of an impression. The man fell asleep in the chair because the movements were too relaxing. He liked it incredibly, there was no argument about that. In fact, the guy was more like a child, so cute and not at all dangerous. The lady liked this man much more when he was sleeping than when he was glaring angrily, trying to show his hostility with his whole appearance. She didn't know whether she should wake Calix, so she decided to wait a little. Finally, the brunette got tired. It was decided that enough rest was enough, so she had to gently touch the shoulder, calling the gentleman by name. Jumping up abruptly, the blonde asks how long he slept. 2 hours, the maid answers. If only the beauty knew what would happen after this. Celia had already been told before that the massage she gives is truly wonderful, but now everything has changed. This is a different level. Now the young man makes her help him fall asleep every day so as not to suffer in bed. There's nothing wrong with the procedure itself. It's completely natural and doesn't take too much time, but the hero himself goes to bed too late, which can't help but be irritating, and every time he has to wait until midnight or 1 in the morning to begin his duties. The worst thing is that the young man doesn't work late and doesn't even have fun with anyone, as is usually the case with men. The man doesn't have any friends or anyone else. He simply doesn't want to go to bed early, stubbornly continuing to behave exactly like this. Every time the hero replies that he is very tired during the day, and every time he lies down in a soft bed, he wants to feel something pleasant. Sometimes he wants to scream. The brunette began to think about simply knocking out this bastard. Yesterday, the blonde teased the girl, saying that she blushed from how much she liked being near him. The heroine, once again, wished harshly that she had eaten the essence of the young man. She did not want to do this and does not want to suffer. Before saying something, she pulls herself together so as not to reveal the truth. It is difficult to play the role of a maiden in love, but so far not everything is going so badly. Finally, it's all over. Celia goes back to her home. She urgently needs rest. Eric is washing himself in his friend's shower again last night. He went out to meet her to ask what caused the great delay until midnight again. Without radiating enthusiasm about her new features, the blue-eyed girl replies that this will be every day from now on. She changes the subject, asking why her friend still hasn't fixed the pipes in his house. The brunette told the valet, but nothing came of it. It's strange that the young man bathed so late. He must have been working late again. It turned out that Eric had been waiting for Celia all this time, carefully reaching out and squeezing his friend's hand. The hero clarified whether Calix was forcing her to do something indecent. At first, it was not entirely clear what this conversation was leading to, but perhaps something could be learned. Not long ago, the man noticed that the woman was almost never home. A couple of times he almost fell asleep while waiting for her to arrive. This cannot help but be exhausting. Of course, a servant cannot do much, but if something happens, he will always stand up for her and try to help. The brunette smiles. She is incredibly pleased with such care. In fact, everything is fine. There is nothing to worry about, even if it seems that there is a reason. Now it is better for the friend to go and get some rest. Tomorrow is a new day, even more tiring. The girl says goodbye, waving her hand one last time. Eric is kind and naive. This and all his traits are very attractive, which is quite normal. If Calix were at least a little like him, life would seem like a raspberry. It's evening again, another exhausting hour. Forces her to fall asleep standing up, which almost makes the heroine fall to the floor. All because she has no more strength. The girl would like to complain, but instead begins to apologize. Closing the book he had been reading all this time and drawing her attention to himself, the man asks to begin. An unexpected reaction appears on the blue-eyed woman's face. She is frightened because it is still too early to do anything. She hopes that he will not force her to give a massage before midnight. The lady cannot refuse. So he makes careful, calm movements. Sometimes it seems as if he has to touch a snake instead of a person, and the body itself is terribly cold. The skin is snow white. It is immediately obvious that he does not carry heavy things, like many of the servants living in the estate. Despite this, the hero looks strong. The girl realizes too late that she has begun to openly examine the young man. The beauty herself did not notice how her thoughts went in a completely different direction, which of course is not something positive. Lately, she has been feeling a strange fatigue when she touches his body. This is also very embarrassing. Celia asks herself to be as careful as possible if she manages to fall asleep again. This time, everything will be much worse. Usually, by this time, the man has already fallen into oblivion. For some reason, now he is sitting and staring at the woman who is standing next to the bed and actively thinking. It's hard to believe that it looks like she'll actually have to give a massage until midnight. The beauty is completely unsatisfied with this turn of events. The heroine is stopped. It's not entirely clear what is required, perhaps to press harder instead of explaining properly. The young man holds out his hands and you can touch him anywhere. The cheek is pressed against the palm. The eyes first close to somehow resolve the situation. The lady notes that she does not know how to massage the face. She has never had such practice. The voice is distracting because now the man is speaking again. He asks why the girl's hands are so warmer. She can't say it out loud, but it's clear to everyone that something else is playing the main role. Her hands are not just warm, but the dragon's are cold, like ice touching. Celia is not unpleasant, on the contrary, he really likes it. Turning away, she has to try to object, although nothing works. The gentleman insistently asks her to touch him again and try. Her brain screams that all this goes beyond the scope of a massage. They have everything completely wrong, and the lady is not going to do anything about it. It is written on Calix's face that after the first touch, he will probably kill the one who allowed herself such impudence. The blonde doesn't give in. It seems like something has hit him in the head because his actions are different from the correct ones. His hand reaches out to the lady. She jumps back, repeating that this is enough, but instead of leaving her alone this time, the hero pulls the body straight towards himself. He thinks that this is more correct. It's okay to be around. And for a man, this is also a good. Plus, considering that he himself made the first move for some reason, he can be attractive even if he holds you by the waist. Like this, something goes wrong, your heart beats incredibly hard. It seems to jump out of your chest doing a somersault because of feelings. Of course, the girl tries to convince herself that she still hates the gentleman. She is quite comfortable being around him. It is as if they have merged into one whole. The blonde asks not to misunderstand. It is normal when the body creates a pleasant warmth that there is a desire to reach for love is different. Nothing good will come from feelings. The man lies back down. He gently hugs the maid, closing his eyes. It's time to go to rest. No one knows what is good. Everyone has their own idea of the order of things. So the heroine does not intend to complain. She calmly closes her eyes, completely resigned. After that, nothing like that happened. The massage continued. In other words, even the blood was filled with fatigue. There were too many tasks that it seemed were only piling up. The only thing I wanted was a little rest so that no one would bother me. At any time and in any place, Celia would fall to her death and fall asleep. It was incredibly difficult for her, although it seemed to depend on nothing. The beauty had the opportunity to sleep even during meals, because at least there was a table on which she could rest her head. With each passing day, the lady felt more and more like she was gradually dying. Another evening arrived. The gentleman lay down on the bed and asked to start quickly. So as not to delay anything, his hands gently touched his face, and after a few minutes the hero fell asleep. The girl exhales. Finally, she too can go to bed, getting ready to leave. The heroine realized that it was not so easy. Her hand was deftly grabbed. It seems the man is not going to let go. You have to get up and go home. All this is clear, but doing the task is much more difficult than saying it. The eyes close on their own. The body falls on the bed nearby. Sometimes a Virgo can't help but feel disappointed. In the morning, her body is fresh. The sun's rays make the house warm. That day, the heroine overslept. Now the situation is more serious, and it's impossible to say that this can be undone. Firstly, Celia is still in the strange room. She will not come back out, and this cannot but irritate. She simply does not know how to behave correctly. Secondly, she was so busy with her sleep that she was not able to get up and leave in time. Now I want to scream from the impact that is happening. There is a concept of relationships. Something like that won't work with this person. The lady is thinking about how to leave. Her body is still ringed with hands. Footsteps are heard, and then the creak of the door. The attempts immediately cease. The beauty falls back, perhaps. The best solution now is to pretend to be asleep. She has no other choice. After all, the brunette who came in calls for Calix. He was brought an offering from the elders. The blonde gets up. The first thing he does is look around, not understanding what is happening. He can't believe that he just slept with the maid. The girl was thrown out of bed. The scream would wake even the dead. She should get up immediately if she wants to live on. For dragons, sharing their essence with someone is like swearing an oath of allegiance, something that not everyone can do, only that special person at the same time. When an animal shares its innermost, its soul and body become unstable. They need constant support. There are two ways to overcome this period. They are not entirely simple but doable. The first is to become one with your partner. Perhaps this is the best thing you can do. The second is touching the same person. It is justified. You need to be close all the time. For Calix, both of these options are impossible because he shared the essence with a stranger. He is constantly in an unstable state. The most common symptom is, of course, insomnia. Of course, his quick awakening in the morning, when it became clear what had happened, became understandable. Having fallen to the floor, the lady covers her face with her hands, starting to apologize over and over again, hoping that all this will end soon. The brunette realizes that everything is lost. She is frightened by the prospect of actually dying. This cannot be reality. In this case, fear spreads through her body in an inexplicable wave. The hero, blushing slightly, nevertheless corrects his stern voice. No matter how much he likes the girl, he still wouldn't let her sleep in the same bed with him. This goes beyond all reasonable bounds. Roman and Celia ask again. Of course, some of his remarks raised more questions than expected. Lowering her head even lower, the maid continues to ask for forgiveness. She does not dare to even desire a place next to such a respectable gentleman. Be that as it may, the lady did not want to be in the same bed with the dragon, and climbed there not of her own free will, simply with the intention of hugging. The assistant is silent. He is still trying to understand what just happened. He is well aware of the owner's bad character. Under normal circumstances, he would immediately get angry after all. Something happened, the situation changed. It cannot be that Calix liked the girl. Of course, Roman is irritated, but he is not going to put what he thinks on display. Most likely these are just stupid guesses that are ultimately worth nothing. This needs to be forgotten. They tell the blonde that they brought something important, but he waves it off, and it is obvious that he is busy. It turned out that it was about the dragon's condition. The girl was given a day off, and without delaying for a second, she said goodbye and ran away. It's good that everything didn't end as badly as she had imagined in her head all this time. There was a deathly silence in the room for a moment. The hero needed to explain the situation he had started with. The elder dragons were worried about how Calix was feeling. They clearly looked like they wanted to throw all their energy into caring for him, but they couldn't because it wasn't clear what to do about it. It's worth mentioning that each of the council members prepared a gift into which they put their soul and time. It would be nice to send a reply letter to show their interest in a further alliance. Nodding, the hero agreed. After all, he wasn't going to refuse good options. The man turns towards the door, wondering what happened to the girl who ran away so quickly. Perhaps she has some problems because of what just happened. The blonde also turns around, but he is absolutely calm. Unlike the beauty, he replies that there is nothing to worry about. He left her because she gives a good massage before bed, which accordingly helps him to plunge into the kingdom of Morpheus. Still, the problem isn't Celia. She's a person who doesn't have much importance. The situation always returned back to that northern child. Because of her, the man had to endure. A lot he's been suffering for 10 years. Insomnia and other symptoms prevent him from living peacefully. I want to finally order that lady to be caught, because this way things can't go on any longer. It's incredibly annoying how things are going. The hero himself doesn't know what he really feels. He thought he did something shameful. For some reason, it seems to him that she is worried about the massage. It's good to remember how everything really was. The young man smiles because he feels privileged. Again, of course, he shouldn't doubt anything, given his good high status. The greatest happiness for Celia is that she will be able to look at the love of her life. Calix is distracted from his thoughts by a light cry. Of course, in front of him stands the hated brunette, who does not react. As he would like, the owner of the estate seemed like a person who is not entirely pleasant. This time Count Prash sent the gentleman a racehorse. The horse was abandoned in Grottera Island. They say the Count only has 3 of them, and one was specially selected to show his true emotions. Of course, one can only be delighted with such a gift. The blonde finds it difficult to listen. To all this, he is thinking about how to get rid of all this. Perhaps the best idea is to break the interlocutor's neck, so that he finally shuts up and doesn't interfere. There is no way to show how much power someone who has all this concentrated in his body actually possesses. Now is the opportunity to walk around the village, look around, and rest. After these words, the man actually thought about what he wanted to do. Thanks to that girl, his insomnia had disappeared completely lately. The dragon realized that at least once he could go outside in a good mood, and in that case, the man would also shut his mouth. The situation deteriorated within half an hour, and a strange atmosphere enveloped the hero. As he stood and watched Celia transfer something to a cart working in the field, surrounded by other servants, and it was unclear what to say or how to react. In fact, the young man never attached any importance to the girl's life. She had her own affairs, so he only demanded the fulfillment of duties in the form of massage and assistance. It seemed that the beauty was resting until she visited the master. Everything was not so. At all, it is hard to believe that what was happening was actually true. The girl worked tirelessly to have at least some means of subsistence. Calix is angry as he watches what is happening. It is clear that the lady is having a hard time. She is trying to carry boxes, which is why her arm suddenly begins to hurt. Her face wrinkles slightly. The same annoying man stands nearby and asks Calix, "What's wrong? Should they go back or go for a walk to a quieter place?" His hand is clutching his clothes, his heart is aching. Strangely, most likely, this is another side effect after losing the essence, but this has never happened before, which already makes him ask questions. At that moment, the girl accidentally knocked over the box in which she was collecting food. Inside was corn which spilled onto the ground. Panic was reflected on her face, but in order not to see this anymore, the hero moves forward, sitting down. The young man carefully covers the lady's head with his jacket. This is a kind of protection. The blue-eyed woman didn't immediately understand what was going on. She asked again in surprise, not believing the person in front of her. The blonde frowned all this time. The beauty had been touching him with dirty hands, because after such hard work, it couldn't be any other way. The little girl jumps up in her seat, taking everything literally, so she starts making excuses, saying she's never had to wash her hands thoroughly, that she can't clean off the dirt so quickly, and her screams echo throughout the entire area, attracting attention. Most people who love a dragon are mistaken. For some reason, the hero hopes that the girl in front of him will be special, will be noticeably different. In his eyes, they are all the same. But in this case, the beauty is not bad, and she again has no idea how to react to such remarks. The man points his finger forward, trying to be more stern in his explanations, just because the lady has been staying nearby all this time. This does not mean that one can be mistaken in thinking that she has a lot of free time. This is not true at all. After the words, all that remains is to order her to quickly go into the house and wash herself properly. Moreover, the girl is forbidden to appear in His Majesty's bedroom until he is called. The blue-eyed girl freezes because again she does not immediately understand what she sometimes needs additional explanations so as not to get completely confused. The lady shrinks, lowering her eyes to the floor. It is not visible how she feels, because it is not considered necessary to show it. Turning around for the last time, the young man chuckled. There is no need to look at her all tear-stained. It will just make it even more unpleasant. The heroine will pray that the dragon's anger will cool down soon. It is impossible to say much that is really going through the young lady's head. She only raises her face when she is sure that no one is looking at her. The gentleman's unexpected generosity made her smile. This had never happened before, and even in her wildest dreams, the lady did not have the right to such a thing. The girl wants to jump up and run away, screaming with joy. Of course she's not going to beg for her life anymore. He won't do anything near the temple. Everything will be fine. The beauty hopes that she will finally be able to sleep normally. She is happy that now she will be able to rest a little more. Before, due to the enormous workload, even on her day off, she was not able to relax normally and not think about anything properly. Several days have passed since the heroes met in the field. The man looks exhausted, rather irritated by the situation he found himself in. Roman asks him to be careful. What the gentleman is writing is not correct. No matter how formal the letter is, it cannot begin with cursives. The blonde squeezes the paper tightly as if it irritates him. Incredible anger pours out. Exactly 4 days have passed since the green-haired girl appeared in the bedroom. It is no longer possible to endure. Something is gradually breaking off, making him even more nervous. Calix should have reacted a little more simply. He gave the order himself. After that, there is no point in complaining. Of course, the hero is aware of what is. But this does not change anything for him. There are still many questions about why it became so bad. Everyone now knows that the maid is in love with the man, so she tries to act as quietly as possible. For some reason, there was initially hope that the heroine would come running the very next day, because she would not be able to contain the impulse of her beating heart, begging to be allowed to look at his lordship again. Now, the dragon is afraid that the brunette will start to hate him, and the worst thing is he won't even know about it. This gives me goosebumps. There are different assumptions. Perhaps the girl simply couldn't come. It is no longer known. What went wrong? It seems that the fact that she was forbidden to see her beloved master was too harsh a punishment. He spoke as if the whole world could disappear because of her. But this didn't seem realistic until the hero suspects that Celia is enjoying her time off. At this time, Roman, watching his friend's torment, shrugs his shoulders, never having had to cope with him in such a state. The brunette decides to clarify some details because in the end he is still interested. If the man is so worried about the maid, he must have really liked her. He wants to agree, but admitting the obvious is not the best idea. He just liked the way the girl gives a massage, nothing more than that. Initially, the hero did not intend to do anyone a favor with what one can say, but the young man will be the head of the middle world. One must be more merciful to people no matter who they are. The dragon promises himself that he will try harder to ensure a good ending. The next order stunned the assistant that Caterpillar absolutely had to be brought back to the estate. Another day, and the guy would start going crazy about what was happening. Roman quickly nodded and walked out the door, thoughts swarming in his head, too many of them. The mercy, in Mr. Calix's words, is a bit strange, more than a little unusual. A dragon is someone who has great power. He was someone who ruthlessly pressured others when the situation required it, which was then turned in his favor. Suddenly, after all this, a completely new emotion appeared. It is still difficult to understand what is going on in the hero's head. Perhaps the whole problem lies in the fact that the young man has lost his essence. If this is indeed the reason, then it is necessary to find the northern man, guilty of the theft, as soon as possible before the gentleman goes completely crazy. It was lunchtime now. The brunette was eating without being distracted, enjoying every crumb until another maid called her. As it turned out, the master was calling the girl to him. Jumping up from the bench, the lady nodded her head, promising that she could very well leave now in order to return sooner. They don't let her go right away, believing that first they need to finish something to begin with. It's worth at least tidying up her appearance a little. Celia probably doesn't realize how tangled her hair is, how covered her skin is with soot. The beauty has just finished work, so her appearance shouldn't raise any questions. Of course, even now, no one will listen. Neatly folded clothes are placed on the table. Ironed, the maid asks to at least just wash herself and then change into what was put there. There is nothing unusual there, just a neat outfit. The master will like it. Freezing in horror, the lady opens her mouth. She cannot find the words. To somehow resist, Celia should then go up to the second floor of the fortress. They should not wait for her too long. That is where Calix's room is. The girl has not been there for several days, and she does not want to go back. Deep down, the brunette panics, not quite understanding why she was called so as not to show her true feelings. When she enters, the beauty immediately smiles, asking why she was called. The little girl says that she thought for a long time, thinking what else she could do. The man smiles. He is glad to hear the words that were just spoken to him. From today, he allows them to come again, to be near turning away. The lady snorts with displeasure. She is immediately asked what just happened, so she has to quickly apologize for everything that happened. She thanks for the opportunity. After this, the dragon grabs the heroine and sits her on his lap. For the future, it is worth warning her how things will be. As soon as the man opens his eyes in the morning, the girl must be nearby. Otherwise, there will be a completely different conversation which will not end well. The blue-eyed woman wants to ask why all this is necessary, but she has no right, so she simply nods in agreement. The man recently went out for a walk, and the scenery was nice. He thinks that it is worth taking another walk at least once while it is still sunny outside. It is clear that the words were not spoken without reason. They contain a meaning that must be understood. The young man says this because he wants the maid to accompany him, even during his walk, before he has to leave. Celia wants to promise that if help is needed, she will immediately come running no matter what. The blonde is angry, although it seemed that there were no prerequisites. He is not satisfied with the option of him waiting for something else. It is wrong. It turns out that the lady needs to be in his room every morning at 7 o'clock in the morning compared to what he had to do before. It is much easier, so it will not be a problem. Still, the scenario of having to spend the whole day with a crazy dragon is also not the best. You can't imagine a worse one. The man fell asleep without even saying anything. Just closing his eyes, he himself did not notice how he plunged into another world, not reacting at all. The two go for a walk. A week has passed since Celia's workplace has moved from the field to the young man's bedroom. Life has become noticeably more comfortable. The girl is even starting to like it. There are not so many doubts anymore. She's lucky she doesn't have to serve people like Jade anymore. All she needs is a good massage. The girl herself doesn't know what she was thinking when she confessed her love, but in the end, the situation turned out to be in her favor. The best thing is that the girl will be able to eat 3 times a day without any problems and good food at that. Blue Eyed would like to understand her feelings, but she is too busy avoiding them. The fact that she is comfortable being with a dragon who wants to kill is quite ironic. The beauty for a moment forgot all her problems and stopped realizing where the path leads. Misfortune always strikes suddenly. This time, the same thing happened as usual. Dirt flew in from somewhere and of course hit His Majesty in the face. A maid runs ahead, not immediately understanding who it is. The lady still screams, not understanding what to do next. She must be extremely careful. The brunette immediately falls to her knees, sincerely asking for forgiveness from Mr. Calix. She didn't think that dirt would fly towards the owner. The blue-eyed girl stands behind her, frightened. She gradually feels how the level of aggression inside the dragon gradually increases, raising it above the heavens. Celia's anger management project is gaining momentum, and she's figured out what needs to be done on the fly. Step 1 is praise. Smiling, the girl notices that the gentleman's beauty is dazzling, even though he's all dirty. Step 2 is to take the man away, somewhere far away, in order to lower his level. Groaning, the heroine notes that she still needs to wash. First, her delicate skin could suffer words. Even so skillfully chosen don't work, it becomes clear that a stupid mistake was made. There remains one last chance which must be used correctly. Otherwise, everything will completely fall apart. The girl clings to the man and begs him to forgive her at least this last time. He said that he would be lenient towards people. You should carefully follow your words except for a plea for mercy. There really is nothing else. The heroine's house is very close. They will get there in less than 5 minutes. The young man may not want to, but still he needs to offer to take a bath and maybe rest a little after such a walk. Turning around, the hero orders him in an angry voice to be taken away. It's good that he agrees and does not continue to walk forward with the intention of finishing off the maid. Smiling with pure relief, the lady points forward. It's time to leave. Rouene was saved. This is already a good plus, so the lady is not going to worry any further. A few minutes later, the two found themselves in front of the house. The dragon snorted with displeasure, his face showing all his emotions without words. He asked if they had come to the barn. The place was extremely squalid. The girl also had no desire for a man to be in her house, but she needed to be kind. Perhaps the hero just wants to return to the mansion. This option would be more suitable, looking around. The guy still goes inside, looking around. He asks where the bathroom is. It turns out that in this place, there is no such thing. There is not even hot water, that is no amenities. The girl explains that things aren't that bad for her because she can already see the horror on her owner's face. Her friend Eric is sitting without any water, even cold. So things aren't that bad. She should be grateful. The girl decides to ask him to take off his clothes. As soon as she sees the body inside, a strange feeling arises. It's unthinkable. The dragon is beautiful even when covered in mud. The two men make eye contact, but then look away. The embarrassment is growing. It's not the first time the maid has seen the blonde man naked, but she still feels somehow awkward. The blue-eyed one promises that she will wait outside. She will return if asked. The bathroom is too crowded. It's better to leave. It's still unclear why feelings are raging inside and the heart is beating as if it's about to burst out. Half an hour later, the procedure was completed. The heroine asked to go into the bedroom where she put a clean blanket clothes to wash and hang to dry so that all this does not take too much time. It turned out that Celia's things were also dirty. She understands that she should have washed everything together going to the shower. The lady stands under cold water for some reason. All the moments between her and Calix pop up before her eyes, from which her cheeks turn red again. You need to not get distracted and finish as quickly as possible. A delay will bring with it problems that will then force you to leave. A little time has passed. The lady is knocking on the door. She has washed, but the clothes are still drying. This will take time for this. You need to apologize. In fact, the heroine doesn't like the prospect of having to knock on her own room. For some reason, everything is upside down. Now the blonde is sitting on the bed and thinking about something. He is surprisingly calm. This usually doesn't happen, or very rarely. Something always goes wrong. If the gentleman had reacted in much the same way as usual, he would probably have screamed, grabbed his face, and asked why he was left in such a dirty place. But now the dragon even has a slightly sad face. His eyes are studying the floor as if he is absent from the moment. The heart continues to beat wildly. It is impossible to come to terms with it. It becomes more difficult to breathe. The girl often talked about love and fell for her own words, although she understood that from the very beginning it was all a pure lie. The man finally stopped to ask what was going on. Waving her hand, the lady switches to something else. The clothes won't dry soon. Maybe it would be better to give her a massage so she can rest a little. Nodding, the young man calls the maid to him with a gesture of his fingers and lie down on the bed. Under normal conditions, the heroine could have sat down on the table next to him, but in this case she had to sit centimeters away from his body because there was no such luxury in the house. They found themselves in the room together and had never experienced such closeness before. The guys were always fully clothed. The girl pinches her earlobe with her fingers, causing the young man to wince. He even blushes a little. Her hand grabs the beauty to pull her closer and ask what it was. For a second the lady fell into a stupor she herself did not understand that she did wrong. Turning away, the blue-eyed girl is noticeably nervous. She needs a good reason why she had to behave like this, but she is unable to say more. Too much has happened. It is impossible to say that the ears are so beautiful that her hand simply slipped. The man continues to watch calmly, but this only lasts a few seconds, because a moment later his hands reach out to the girl, carefully tipping her onto the very bed where he was sitting. The actions happen even faster than the beauty expected. She gets scared. Leaning down, the young man gently kisses her neck and then her earlobe. The brunette wants to ask what's going on, but the actions are too overwhelming for her to absorb. Calmly, her hand moves forward, almost disappearing under her skirt. The girl understands that they can't do this. They need to push her away quickly. Pulling away a little, the guy tries to catch his breath. His cheeks are still red, his voice is completely hoarse, and a drop of sweat is running down his collarbone. His whole appearance shows a wild desire. He asks to leave if he doesn't like it, and immediately sucks. Back, of course, the lady does not approach, because in front of her is a dragon who 10 years ago promised to rip out and eat the lady's heart. For some reason, her body didn't obey her. The girl wanted to do something else, but instead she wrapped her arms tighter around his neck. A grin immediately formed on her friend's face. To some extent, he understood everything. If he hadn't been in the lady's place, he probably wouldn't have been able to resist something like that either. Then something happened that was dreaded. Mornings aren't always refreshing. They can be tough, because you have to get out from under the cozy blanket to get back to grueling work. Today was just such a day. The heroine jumped up and felt that her whole body ached. She didn't immediately realize what was wrong with her clothes. Only then, looking around, she froze in horror. Calix is sitting quietly, sipping tea in a nearby chair. His advisor is standing next to him. The brunette is frowning. He is in a bad mood. The gentleman brought her person at first. It seemed like another corpse, but no. A living girl, and even in someone else's clothes. A lot of questions arose. For some reason, they are no longer at the lady's house but in another place. Roman noticed that the situation had driven them into a corner. The behavior was completely out of character for Calix. He could have simply killed the maid while the two were talking, even continuing to joke. A little the heroine was close to a heart attack. She was actually afraid, who would have thought. The brunette continues to ask if there is any other special reason for the lady to stay alive. Usually the blonde is adamant in his question. He never listens to the advice of others and always acts in approximately the same manner. The dragon gave his assistant a terrifying look to show his sincere attitude. Of course, the young man doesn't kill people. It seems the hero simply made a mistake, nothing more. The girl knew she was next to a psychopath, but she didn't think that everything was so bad. The man still doesn't help because his behavior makes you doubt everything. You still want to know why you had to bring the maid with you. Shrugging your shoulders, the hero calmly states the fact that he wanted it. The lady doesn't know what happened, but she is truly scared. Noticing the behavior, the young man asks Roman to leave the room. The man doesn't quite understand what the point is. He hasn't even been given the letter sent to the elder yet. The assistant will write the message and send everything that is needed himself, just to make it a little easier now that the door is closed. The man is not looking at Celia. It felt like a hole was about to be burned through his back. For some reason, the young man decided to approach. If he didn't kill, he would certainly cut something off, not considering it to be anything terrible. An incredible fear rushes through the whole body, leaving an electric current in all the limbs. But all the dragon does is lightly touch with his hand, trying to calm down as much as possible. It seems like you could die after such a performance, but you have to say that you liked everything. There's no way out, you have to play until the end. Since yesterday, my heart has been beating wildly with terror. The man has no understanding of people's emotions and is deeply mistaken if he thinks that this is simple excitement. Careful! Fingers take a lock of hair marks, are visible on the neck, scarlet from the lips. It is strange that the hero was hugging a woman, and for the first time was so excited. Never before had Calix desired anyone so strongly. He had never felt such strange emotions towards a person, especially towards someone he hardly knew. Next to the lady, passion and pity are mixed. Inside, everything is in disarray. The maid is asked to rest in the estate. She immediately refuses because she is not crazy enough to stay nearby. The little girl thought that she could play some role again, but this time it won't work out. This misunderstanding will cost her very dearly, that's true. The girl asks to borrow some clothes or at least a blanket. She would like to go and wash herself, but no one would like to go out looking like she does now. The boy smiles, then abruptly pulls down the pants lying nearby. He kneels to pull them up Celia's legs. His face flushed the moment, too intimate. The blonde wouldn't do that twice. It's not his style if you think about it. There shouldn't be any more misunderstandings. Just a calm and measured relationship, nothing more than that. That day, an unusually good mood came over the man. He doesn't understand what it depends on, probably because he has to watch the lady in such funny baggy clothes. The girl had a good dinner and even thanked her. Earlier, Roman had delivered an offering from the elders, and he had told the hero to at least write a letter in response. The young man decided to write it himself, and his assistant was delighted and immediately handed him a stack of paper from which he could choose one thing and focus on it. The brunette was in a hurry, so he brought everything he had. No one sent new telegrams, but when he opened them, Calix saw primitive lines about what needed to be done. The dragon became angry and promised that he would definitely find the criminal who sent the message. No one had the right to mock his highness. Roman would never have written something like this. Nothing is important. Now the young man asked to bring ink. Of course, everything will be prepared now. Before starting, the hero asked to write the names of the elders. When the ruler was about to start writing, a servant, standing nearby, accidentally knocked over the inky. I want to swear because it is definitely impossible to forgive. For something like this has never happened before. Mr. Calix does not say whether he is okay. He needs to wash his hands. The lady sitting under the shirt on the sofa sticks her head out. She became curious about what was going on. She did not see anything as she was resting under the blanket after lunch. The maid already imagines that she is about to die in agony. She should have been much more careful instead of doing something the hero assumes that Celia is hungry again. There's nothing to be done. Dinner needs to be prepared. The cheerful brunette, who seems to have managed to save her life, nods, promising that she will do everything in the best possible way. This time the woman will be released without punishment. The reason for this is that the caterpillar is very timid. Tearing the blanket from the lady's head, the man asks to go get something to eat. The assistant standing to the side watches what is happening. Still with his mouth open, the surprise does not go away. Alas, due to the lack of essence, the dragon's consciousness began to fuss. After the meal is over, the young man will remind her again about the letter. Now it is best to remain silent. The maid was asked to throw away the paper she could not read, so she only understood the phrase 4 days left. When the heroine returned to the house, she gasped. Less than half a day had passed since everything had collapsed. The head maid still thought it was no great loss, as if cattle had lived there. When it rained, the girl shivered from the cold. Of course, this house was only good for spending the night, but it was a homey place to which she could always return. Tears welled up in my eyes. I couldn't hold back any longer. Then it turned out that Calix was involved in the matter. He said that he didn't want to see the hut anymore. The beauty freezes and then screams because of the anger that has come over her. You can't behave like this and dispose of someone else's property. The leader asks to calm down and follow her. The landscape around is simply magical, all because they have already moved away from the village. Now the lady will live in a new place, more convenient. There is no need to worry about all the benefits. In the distance, you can see a neatly built house in this place. Once lived a maid whom the feudal lord treasured. She then ran away. From the outside, of course, it is beautiful, but 10 servants were assigned to the territory and forced to clean up. This was done for some specific purposes too. Calix ordered to do everything as best as possible. Going inside, the lady is even more surprised. The walls are brick, the ceilings are high, and there are 2 rooms. Most importantly, she now has hot water. She wants to smile because of the care that the lady has given. A second later, the lady returns from her dreams back to Earth. If he finds out who she is, he will probably tear her to pieces as he promised 10 years ago. In any case, the gentleman should be thanked. In the morning, the heroine returned to the estate. She did not expect to see a terrifying picture. Servants were running from side to side. It turned out that a fire had broken out in Calix's room. They lit a magic candle to cure insomnia, but it all ended unsuccessfully, because in the end it fell and the girl began to worry even more. The room has an eerie atmosphere. There is a burning smell everywhere. The ceilings have darkened. Celia carefully looks around. She is still curious about what is going on. The dragon is not visible. The hero appeared behind her. He put his hand on the maid's head, in his opinion. It was surprising how everything ended. The fire surrounded only the bed, hinting at something. The girl jumps back in horror. She ran so funny, like a squirrel in a wheel. Perhaps the heroine even looks a little like a mutant because of her green hair. Roman takes the piece of paper that was in his hands. This disgusting letter survived even after the fire, which is surprising, despite the fact that they cleaned up yesterday. It's time to go to breakfast. They just said that everything is ready. That's good. Calix is inviting the girl with him. He is, of course, not the one she wants to see next to her, but still. When a lady is with him, something good happens. This time she jinxed it. The servant apologizes for the glass. It was of poor quality, so they will immediately find the manufacturer and punish him. The blonde guy clarifies that it will definitely happen. There's no certainty that someone who produces defective goods needs hands. This is not going anywhere. We need to be more strict. The heroine almost forgot that in front of her was the same evil dragon who came to kill her. The man asked her not to be afraid. He noticed that the beauty could not eat because she was trembling all over. The craftsman was punished. It didn't frighten him. But the girl, the blue-eyed one, who is now simply good at hiding, doing it correctly, can become the person's target. Smiling, the leader notes that he decided to cut off that man's hand. It all happened because of the maid yesterday. The dream was bad because she was not there. If Celia had been in the room, there would have been no need for candles and the fire would not have happened. Then the hero would have been in a good mood and that person could have been forgiven. The girl froze in horror. She quietly asked what they wanted from her. It would be good to understand what was going on. She needed to try to make sure that the young man was finally able to relax. Everything came back to the same thing again. The guy kisses the beauty on the neck, noticing that she has absolutely no flaws. The joke about eating her completely was not funny. Roman entered the room, and only now did the girl realize that they were in the assistant's room, since there had been a fire in the master's quarters, and he had temporarily moved in. Turning to his friend, the dragon suggests doing something interesting, for example, cutting off one arm of the one who constantly interferes. The brunette won't die from this, there won't be any problems. Blue-eyed understands that the situation is not giving her peace, starting with yesterday's fire. Calix is surrounded by nothing but troubles. It all started with the spoiled donated apples. Then the fence the dragon was leaning on collapsed and even a cart of potatoes crashed into it. If everything was left as is, the man would blame the maid again. Smiling with noticeable nervousness, the beauty suggests going back. The weather is starting to deteriorate. The sun is shining outside. All the words are pouring out. The young man still agreed, but on the way there he fell into a puddle. He had never been to the lady's new estate. It would be better to go into her house than to drag her to the village in this state. It would be a bit embarrassing. Blue Eyes suggests taking a shower. There is hot water in the house. The hero is going to do this. But first he wouldn't mind checking how seriously the curse is. It didn't seem like the blonde was willing to kiss in such filth, but he still climbed in, and as soon as it happened, one of the candlesticks fell from the shelf right on his head. Calix immediately ran to Roman. He asked from the doorway to give him the letter that had arrived. Before, after the piece of paper, everything started to go wrong, not at all as it should. A fire isn't the worst thing. Once again, the caterpillar witnesses the dragon's shame. Yesterday, the man couldn't be alone with her today. He fell into a puddle. He's tired of wallowing in the mud. It would be wrong for the assistant to say anything, but it is hard to believe that the gentleman is interested in the girl he is talking about. It seems like my friend has gone crazy. It's not he who is interested in his girlfriend, but she in him. I just don't want to destroy the illusion of love that is gradually being created. The man finished writing the letter. He will send them some nonsense in the form of a note. There are exactly 7 of them, it seems. Everything matches. That's how that spam, or rather the lucky letter, left the dragon's hands and peace reigned for a while. Which was more than enough for starters, of course. The blonde called the maid. She stands leaning against the wall, almost falling asleep, while they tell her that now she can admire the young man. It is a great honor for her. The girl is truly crazy about the hero, but she shouldn't drown in these pure feelings completely, because she could be seriously hurt in the future. It's better to love him a little less, although you can't command your heart. The man sees the girl nodding, but she doesn't really mean anything. Her brain still hasn't fully woken up if you think about it, and she still hasn't said her name. Since Celia loves her master so passionately, perhaps it is worth getting to know her better. The young man is ready to find out something important, so he immediately orders her to name her name without delay, after which he asks her to sit on the bed so as not to stand any longer. The lady wants to dive under the covers, but demands a top-quality massage from her. The girl reaches out, but is asked what happened. Apparently, there was a mistake. She didn't think the massage was postponed. Nothing terrible happened. The hero was just thinking about asking her to touch him. Now he doesn't want to sleep, while the young man carefully touches the lady with his hand. For some reason, his heart began to beat faster. They found a piece of paper in the caterpillar's pocket. She herself doesn't know what it is. It was lying in front of the entrance. The girl can't read, so she gave the message to the gentleman. Within a second, the mood changed. The blonde flared with anger, which was clearly overflowing. The beauty was obliged to rewrite the contents exactly 7 times. The dragon will deal with whoever gave him the message himself. Roman was called in to have the maid's message sent to the elders, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. A few days later, the investigation yielded results. The owner of the estate asks for leniency. He too suffered if that's the case. Roman reminds that the handwriting and style of the letter match. The man is sure that the letter was sent by those who stand in front of them. It seems they were crazy when they decided to do something like that. Of course, the blonde will finish them both off. The girl knows that he is not lying. Calix will not let anyone get away with even the slightest mistake, so he will kill without a doubt. Celia doesn't like what's happening. She doesn't even want to stand next to them. Of course they're guilty, but there's no point in killing them. It won't bear any fruit. The blue-eyed girl, without realizing it, remembers the words that they'll finish her off too. Calix asks the girl what is happening. Her throat is tight. She is unable to answer. It gets even worse if she remains silent and afraid. In the end, she will not be able to survive. Trying to say at least a word, the heroine fails. With a crash, the dragon tries to make her breathe evenly. There are tears in her eyes. It's scary. She doesn't want the guys to be killed. The girl would like those 2 to be pitied. They were guilty, but that's not all. The hero was silent for a second, digesting what he needed to say first. Gently placing his hands on her shoulders, the man suggests calming down. He's fine if you don't want to see death. The easiest thing to do is turn away. They won't do anything to her. The situation is a little ironic. The fear inspired by Calix disappeared without a trace under his embrace. Everything can quickly change as soon as it becomes known who is in front of him, but that is a completely different story. It is well known that the young man will rip out the lady's heart. At that moment, she will feel terrible pain, which will be difficult to cope with, and then it will only get worse. Opening her eyes, the lady noticed that she was sitting on the bed. Of course, Calix knew that she was a coward, but he did not think that she would lose consciousness. The girl asked for forgiveness, but backed away when a hand was extended towards her. Sitting down next to her, the blonde asks if he really scares her so much. This breaks his heart a little. The beauty again cannot even open her mouth. She understands that behavior can reveal the truth. Extending his hand, trying to be careful, the young man asks for forgiveness. He is truly sorry that in the end everything did not end as expected. The next morning, rumors spread that the feudal lord's son had been kicked out of the village. A boy from a neighboring village had played a prank on him that was also news. A man was sent a message that needed to be forwarded to 7 people, but that man decided not to waste time and did everything incorrectly without even thinking about the consequences. The important gentleman from Ethian did not appreciate the idea. In the end, which was initially quite logical, considering all the factors, in the end the man was punished. It was not so bad. After all, he managed to escape death, but he was forced to leave the village penniless somewhere. People laugh when they hear the story, thinking that the guy was completely stupid. There is no other way to describe it. Some already understood that he was not very smart, but they did not think that he was so smart. One of the ladies asked something she would like to know, how she managed to deliver a letter to such an important person as Calix. As far as some people in the city know, the man is currently visiting Hainan. Of course, it's not clear what will happen next, but one might think that there is an excellent chance that despite this incident, He hasn't left the estate, which means something is holding him back. The hero intends to stay in the city for a long time. He has some hidden mission that still needs to be completed. It would be a good idea to make an acquaintance with that person. This idea was liked by absolutely everyone. Now they are like sharks that will hunt for prey. The girl went to the estate there. She learns something else. A man is standing in front of her. Obviously, he demands that the lady leave her own place and does not see any problem in this. She did not immediately understand where the conversation would lead when she arrived at the place. The brunette chuckles. The girl doesn't understand at all what she got herself into. It's even ironic. It's not clear what she was even thinking about. She was simply given a chance to live in a new place at the request of the gentleman, but nothing more. She thought of something wrong. The blue-eyed one lowers her head. She is ashamed. The hero doesn't know the reason, but it's become noticeable that aristocrats have been frequenting Hainan, all of them demanding rooms, and the estate is already bursting at the seams. They simply have nowhere to go since there are no vacancies left. There is nothing left but to use Celia's estate, which is located nearby in the village. Of course, before you start doing anything, you'll have to clean everything up properly. But that's not the biggest problem. Everything can be solved. The maids will do their job. The heroine is driven away. But she doesn't understand what to do. Then he doesn't care what happens next. Maybe he can spend the night with someone. I really want to ask Calix to finish off the lady's master, but of course that would be stupid. Rowena arrived just in time. She greets her friend smiling. There's no need to worry. The brunette can stay with a friend during this time. Of course, they will be cramped, but they will definitely not be offended. My friend now seems like a real angel because now she won't have to sleep on the street. The gentleman is ruining the whole atmosphere. The girls are taking too long. They completely forgot that it's time to leave, especially since each of them still has a portion of work to do. That's how the blue-eyed girl lost her home, but thanks to Rowena, she escaped the horror. While the heroine was fussing, trying to figure out how to move her things, she managed to forget how awkward it was between her and Calix after that day when he hugged her to calm her down a little. Now, standing next to the man, the beauty has no idea what to do next. The hero is clearly unhappy because the servant was crying to him, although she should be angry with him. While Celia again plunged into thought, she was distracted by a voice that called in her ear. Blushing a little, the blonde asks if the lady loves him even after everything that happened. It could be real. The girl quickly apologizes, although at first she didn't know how to react. It's hard for her to collect her thoughts. Now everything is too terrible. It is not clear whether it is right if he has to continue to pretend that the girl loves him. It is not true. But now there are even more problems. Obviously, the lady is still afraid of him as before, but for him it is strange because that guy was not killed. They just threw him out of the village so that he would not get underfoot. Something is wrong here. Calix shouldn't be so upset, but he still is. The lady apologizes. She didn't mean to make things worse. The situation got out of control. That day the man misunderstood again. He apologizes, promising that this will never happen again. There is no longer any reason to be afraid of the gentleman. For some reason he speaks such loud words. There must be a reason for this too. Eric was told that same evening. What happened, the girl really suffered, and it turns out that she will now live with Rowena until everything is resolved. There is no other choice. She will still have to do what she is forced to do. The blue-eyed girl clarifies what the young man himself will do. Her house collapsed, which means he will no longer have anywhere to wash. It turned out that the young man was talking about something else. Obviously, everything was about something else. That was a great excuse. It's a shame that now nothing will work out. The man will be washing himself at someone else's place while they were calmly talking. Time passed very quickly. It got dark outside. In a few hours, it seemed like it was not too late to leave. Eric thought for a second, but then turned to say something to the girl. Obviously, news had spread about the new arrivals. There is a man who is trying to drag the maids into his bed. They are obliged to tell the truth to Marty. There is no other choice. A second after what is said, the girl realizes that, however, the master does not care. Nothing changes even through the years. A friend offers his help, even if it doesn't mean much. Maybe a young man will take a girl home. It will be much safer together than if you go all alone. The girl refuses. Nothing will happen because she will go. Right now, she wants to cry, but the man will not insist. Tomorrow is a difficult day. It will be best to rest. Going outside, the lady realized that she is not at all comfortable. Rowena also seemed to have returned home. A voice is heard from behind. The lady knew that everything would end like this. But it seems that she will be the next victim, trying to reduce the horror the heroine suggests. Going to the estate, it is in the other direction. The brunette has no intention of returning to his appointed place. Instead, he grabs the maid by the hair and pulls her towards him. She's very lucky to spend the night with someone like this. After the words, the hero takes off his pants. Making the situation worse, the blue-eyed girl laughs at what is between his legs, for which she receives a slap in the face when he shuts up. The lady doesn't understand what to do if she gets hit again. She loses consciousness. Her friend comes to the rescue. Again, the maiden throws dirt right in the aristocrat's face. When the two ran further away, the brunette exhaled. She was glad that Celia was okay if she had been a few minutes late. It would have been worse. It turned out that Rowena even had a reason why she was at the estate. A banquet was about to begin there, and the girl had missed the preparations while serving Calix. Many aristocrats came to see the gentleman, but he never honoured them with his attention. They collectively hope that they will be able to meet him at least at the event. It's strange because the dragon seems to be a simple merchant. This is a big secret that not everyone knows. It seems the man is from the royal family. His Majesty is the only owner of mines with blue diamonds, but now they are sold in the Ephean Guild. Of course, sales aren't just one piece at a time, but thousands at a time. To do that, you need a mining permit. The young man managed to get one, which is why many are considering membership. Many aristocrats try to come to the village and start making friends. Knights appeared behind them asking what the ladies were doing on Lady Heltinia's territory. It's a disaster because now the blonde demands that the two of them be punished. Immediately the gentleman asks not to worry. He will personally sort everything out and there will definitely be no more problems. If the guards hadn't discovered the girls, no one knows what they could have done if they had broken into someone else's house. The blue-eyed girl is angry. This used to be her estate. It was only lent to others for a while. Instead of expressing her thoughts, the girl falls to her knees and sincerely asks for forgiveness. It's unfair that everything turned out this way. She wants to scream with resentment. Heltinia doesn't need an apology. The two must be punished. They certainly won't be released until the anger passes. One of the knights got a stick. They will beat her to teach her manners. A familiar voice was heard from behind. Of course it was Mr. Calix. He was also angry. He came because he heard what was happening here. The young man had been suffering from insomnia lately, which was usually terrible, but thanks to a skilled maid, he was able to get some normal rest. But the new arrivals had ruined everything that could have been. The man wants to know who is responsible for his interrupted sleep. He would like to punish that person, but he does not know how to do the right thing. The blonde rushes forward screaming that she did nothing and is not at all to blame. It's all because of them, those maids who ran into the house and wanted to rob it. The girl freezes in horror. She understands that if they don't believe them, everything will end after this. All that's left is to cry, but nothing more. The man walks forward. A menacing voice asks where the lady lives. She tells about a brick house behind the estate. She has prepared many gifts for the dragon. The villains found out about this. Apparently, there was a mistake. The place was bought for blue diamonds, and the gentleman falls to his knees and also asks for forgiveness in order to express something. As one wise man said, accidents are not accidental. No one deserves a hero's forgiveness. The damage caused will have to be compensated for this. They will bring blue diamonds. The man's insides won't be torn apart, only if he hurries to leave. The maid became scared, but she won't object. However, he might just be working for the dragon now. Blue Eyes is ordered to get out of the house. It was she who entered someone else's territory. She tries to object, but must be grateful that she was not killed on the spot. Remembering what happened, the brunette understands that her acquaintance was beside himself. With anger, Calix ordered all the gifts that Heltinia brought to be burned, and she and Martin could not utter a word. Thanks to the gentleman, the incident ended without bloodshed. Then something else happened. The girl had to follow the young man so that everything would be fine. The hero must have been tired and needed to rest while they were giving him a massage. Then the hero noticed that something was wrong with the girl's face. There was a red mark from a hand on it. The young man wasn't going to ask twice. One crazy guy hit the lady. He wasn't going to let her go. She was just lucky, but it was impossible to clarify the details. The man demands to know more details. The man was waving his fist and she didn't even know what to do next. Rowena saved her by running and fighting him off with mud. The two ran as fast as they could and stopped at Miss Heltinia's house. They really weren't going to steal her gold or anything else, they just needed to spend the night as planned. The caterpillar cries from shame and anger. He will never believe it because he is an aristocrat. They are all the same, they will not bat an eye no matter how much ordinary people scream. The hero nods. The beauty doesn't want to be thought of as a liar. The blonde thought that everything is about the fact that this is love that has not gone anywhere. It doesn't matter whether the girl wanted to take something or decided to be better, but nothing will make her fall in love with the dragon. They are simply from different worlds. Bowing her head, the blue-eyed girl sadly says that she knows everything, despite everything. She still doesn't want people to think badly of her. It's wrong. The beauty does not love Calix and does not want to be considered terrible. Simply because it will ruin her reputation, she has no right to fall in love with him. It is wrong. The young man called his assistant to him. He had to do something. The man wanted him to tell everyone that he would not be attending the banquet. There was nothing to do there. Sometime later, a ball began at the estate. The blonde man, who had always been indifferent to such events, for some reason announced that he would come after all. The atmosphere among the guests became tense from this news alone. Because of what was to come, the maids had no peace. For a moment, the aristocrat's irritation was growing. Everyone found something to say. For some reason, the snack seemed cheap. The reason why no one has left yet, despite their dissatisfaction, sits in front on the throne. Calix also stayed believing that it was right. The gentleman must have hated being in such a wretched place. The man wanted to say something else to get closer, but nothing worked. He received a stern look. There is also someone in this room who attacked the lady. The girl did not intend to pay attention to him, but he hit one of the servants, knocking him to the floor. When the young man wanted to get up, he was not allowed to. You can't get up after all dogs walk on 4 legs? The aristocrats laugh. Their reaction is ambiguous. The girl is incredibly angry. This kind of attitude cannot be tolerated. For some reason, no one intervenes, although laughing at this is unacceptable. Calix finally stood up from his seat. He found what was happening amusing, noticing the approval. As such, everyone gathered began to laugh even more. It was clear that everything had changed. Blue-eyed froze. After all, the dragon is no different from the others that man orders to crawl on his stomach to show a true performance. It will be even funnier if the brunette does something similar. The aristocrat laughs. It almost seemed to him that it was true. At first, he thought that it would not be funny. The gentleman, of course, was not joking. He exhaled when he saw that he was not being taken seriously. His eyes sparkled, gradually filling with anger. Turning to Roman, the blonde orders all the servants to be taken out. The blue-eyed girl doesn't understand what's happening. Everything is right. That person should get what he deserves. Rowena picked Eric up from the floor. He felt really bad. He needed to be taken to the doctor quickly to have all his organs checked after that blow. The girl runs up to her friend and asks if everything will be okay if they suddenly start looking for him. She needs to explain what happened while her friend checks to make sure his condition returns to normal. I wonder what's going on inside the estate. The sun has risen high in the sky, but the doors still haven't opened. After so many hours, here's a miracle. Finally, we can rejoice. The aristocrats run out in horror, shouting that it was terrible. The servants had no right to make Calix go crazy. It is still not entirely clear what happened. A few hours ago, Roman reported to the gentleman that the brunette had been abusing village girls, doing this repeatedly and forcing them into bed with him against their will. In fact, the dragon wants to finish off the man, but he understands that this still needs to be thought about. The first order at the banquet was to remove all the servants as soon as something terrible happened. Lately, the hero doesn't recognize himself. He's not only worried about what the villain did to Celia, but he also doesn't want to kill him in front of others. The blonde orders the young man to crawl on his stomach across the room precisely to avoid embarrassment. He sent away all the despicable ones. There are no more excuses. The gentleman has too much of an opinion of himself. No one dares to tell an aristocrat what to do. He will be the one who will have to go to the floor when something like this happens. Cleaning his ear with his finger, the young man notices that the man is stupid, even for an animal, and he still dares to speak like that. He should have remained calmer and quieter. Stepping forward, Calix recalls the rumors that it was the aristocrat who mocked the village girls and attacked them, not giving them the opportunity to escape by running away. The man said goodbye to his dignity and then died. The assembled people screamed, blood splattered in all directions. Now, a few hours later, the blonde man leaves the hall. He met the gaze of the maid that day. All the guests left Hainan, and a quiet and peaceful life returned to it. The atmosphere in the village has noticeably changed. Before, everyone would tremble like an aspen leaf at the sight of a guest of the estate, but now they greet him joyfully. It is unclear who started the rumors, but everyone whispered that the hero had fought back against the tyranny of the aristocrats, giving them what each deserved for their actions. Every day, more and more people considered him their hero. Then everyone learned that the gentleman also saved the reputation of Celia and Rowena. Gifts from the villagers began to arrive at the estate. Rumors are not the biggest problem. Celia can fall even more in love with the dragon. That would be a problem. The guy reluctantly imagines how the girl will admire his heroism. But if you think about it, it's better that way than seeing her tears. I'd like to keep the heroine close to me since she's so good at massage and helps me fall asleep. But if I feel sorry for her, nothing good will come of it, and it's even a little embarrassing. In my head, I again see images of how a lady will ask me to love her, making eyes at her, till she stops thinking about the man, and he will try to moderate his ardor. The next morning, when the maid arrived in the room, the blonde began to press. He noticed that the beauty was not even hiding. For some reason, she had another reason. The beauty does not understand the reason horror is reflected on her face. She cannot believe that the black hair has finally grown back, showing the true essence from the north. Instead of killing the heroine right away, the man chuckles. He sees how much the little girl loves him. She must have self-control no matter what. Even he finds it difficult to control strong feelings. The blonde man sincerely asks her not to give in to her emotions. The girl nodded, but it seemed that a different reaction was expected from her. She asks for forgiveness for causing her heart and feelings to be disturbed. She does not expect anything from the gentleman. The man should be pleased, but again he didn't like something. This was too much. It seemed that after they took her for a thief, they wouldn't believe a single word anymore. At night, the young man tosses and turns in his bed again, unable to fall asleep. It only gets worse. He wants everything to be good again, like it was about a week ago. Blue Eyed said that her heart was broken into 1,000 pieces, but if that was the case, she would try not to disappoint the master. It seems the hero went a bit overboard. He himself already understands this because he inflicted mental trauma on the heroine, wounding her fragile heart, but she, despite everything, still gave him a massage and took care of him. The blonde hopes that he will do everything to thank the beauty properly. Until the morning, he was choosing what would be suitable as a worthy thank you. Having shown up at the blue-eyed woman's, the young man asks whether he should start with good or bad news. The decision was made immediately first. There will be something pleasant. A man goes on a date with his girlfriend. He pretends that this is one of the best things he has ever said. Of course, it is not true, but he does not know the true feelings of the beauty standing in front of him. She simply raises an eyebrow, showing her displeasure. The blue-eyed woman realized that she needed to control herself, preferably better than she was now. She almost ruined her reputation in her face. In fact, the beauty was simply very surprised, so she was trying to justify herself. Today is not her birthday, but here is such a gift. There really is no limit to her happiness. Of course, the main character won't be able to hold back. Her heart is beating so hard that it's impossible to believe. The blonde noticed that the girl standing next to her is completely frivolous. That's true. The brunette doesn't say anything more if she behaves differently. He will suspect something, it will be bad. The girl had almost forgotten about the bad news. Calix must have something in mind. He is usually indifferent to everything, so this fuels her interest. The man has some business to attend to. He will have to leave for a while. After all, he has no choice. Now the girl will miss him even more. The blue-eyed woman freezes, asking again to make sure of her words. She needs some confirmation. It seems the hero was right. The woman looks as if the whole world has collapsed. It turns out that in this case, the prince will no longer look for the girl from the north in the village where he is. This is a relief. The little girl is happy. Finally, she is saved. The terrible times are over, falling. The heroine wants to say something, but understands that she needs to be much more careful. The young man cannot understand everything correctly. Everyone has their own thoughts on this matter. Covering her mouth with her hand, the beauty apologizes to herself for her carelessness, because she almost squealed with happiness. For 10 years she was shaking from the memories of Calix. It seems that she is finally free. It makes her want to jump to the ceiling and squeal. Smiling slightly, the blonde asks to say something to understand what the reaction will be. In general, the maiden is grateful that the dragon is leaving, but she cannot say it out loud. She is finally being given a peaceful life, something she could only dream of in her situation. Moving a little lower, the lady quietly asks when the man is leaving. She understands that soon she will never see him again. There is no need to worry. First, the couple goes on a date just as they originally promised. Strange feelings have appeared inside the beauty, which make her doubt something. She is sure that she is experiencing positive emotions. But for some reason, she suddenly feels sad. Her heart beats faster, and it tells her that the heroine will miss the dragon ironically. The man asks her not to make such a face. It seems that Celia herself did not notice how something had changed in her. At first it even scared her a little. You can't say that this is a positive side. Smiling, the blonde promises that in a few weeks he will definitely return back. Nothing terrible will happen. Here the girl realized that she had rushed with joy. She drooped, asking if it was true that the guy would soon be back in the village. It couldn't all be that simple. Only now it was clear that it was too naive to hope for some dreams. She would have to wait a little until the moment when the young man would be near again. The main thing was not to cry like last time. The date that was proposed began to depress her morally. Again, the lady no longer thought that it was a great idea. This time the girl would simply wait calmly as the gentleman said, "It is best to learn to control your feelings so as not to accidentally let them out at the most inopportune moment. For some reason, anger was reflected on his face. The blonde turned sharply and went somewhere. Sometimes he is still unpredictable. His mood swings make you doubt your common sense. The girl hurried after him, asking why he was going and why nothing was explained first. She was trying to achieve something, not understanding what she was hoping for, but strangely enough, Calix did not utter a single word. It was all over, and the lady did not even know how to react to this. Further, she definitely had questions, but they were not enough. The time had come when the beauty was finally able to go to rest, in her room in the estate. She was still embarrassed. She was not sure if something was said wrong, but the situation definitely did not end well. If everything was bad, then the blonde would have definitely reacted. A scream is heard from the side, which makes you distracted from your thoughts. The other maids somehow manage to get through to Celia. The beauty is in the clouds again. Lately, it has become increasingly noticeable that the girl cannot concentrate on anything. Her efficiency is suffering considerably. This does not inspire joy. Rowena said that they understood everything. There was no need to worry. Her friend was planning her first date in her life. They were starting to pick out outfits. The first dress seemed neat and cute, but it didn't suit her. The silhouette was too straight and the color was rather dull. It was still not worth paying attention to. The next outfit, as many say, is currently in fashion, but the skirt is too short. In the end, after half an hour of such debate, the ideal option was found. It would be best suited for a date. The girl asks to be quiet. She is grateful, but there is no need to overdo it. You can just choose something from everyday clothes. The friends unanimously refuse. No normal person would go out in something less than perfect to the guy of their dreams. From the very beginning, the brunette was not very keen on meeting the young man, but he forced her to do so. The brunette laughs, and now it's clear what kind of person Calix is, if he was able to force her to agree. He definitely has some kind of leverage, which he uses very well, and this doesn't bother her in the least. The blue-eyed girl is talking about a secret that no one is destined to know. That man is much more handsome than her, richer, and dresses better. There is no point in dressing up in such a situation. Ordinary clothes will almost do best. The guys understood what was being talked about. They did not need to be told twice. There was a knock on the door. Erica, it seems, was asked to help with something. The guy didn't immediately understand why everyone had gathered at such a late hour. He had to ask questions. The girl was sending everyone away, while her friends continued to repeat that they needed to wear one of the chosen outfits. But if the lady went in rags, it would only make things worse, and it was not recommended to make things worse. The man finally got an answer to his question about where the lady was going. Celia had a date in the morning. The girl immediately began to explain herself because she felt it was necessary. She was going for a walk where she didn't even want to go. She was forced to do it. Eric laughed, wishing her a great time. It seemed that he was in great pain. The day has arrived, that very unusual day. That makes you smile. The heroine has finally dressed up. The dress is clean and elegant. It will probably do. The girl is not going to impress Calix anyway, so it's a little easier for her whatever happens. Happens no matter how it all ends. And yet, since this is a date, it is understandable that it is worth maintaining decency. Nothing like this has ever happened in her life. Because of this, her heart beats faster, making her worry even more. Self-hypnosis begins to produce noticeable failures in the system. As soon as the heroine arrived at the dragon's estate, he immediately ruined the good mood. Everything ended badly. He didn't like the beauty's outfit. Walking next to him in such a way should be shameful. Trying to hide her disappointment, the little girl clarifies what she will have to do. Now, there must definitely be some solution. As it seemed to the blue-eyed girl, she chose the best of what the girls lent her. In fact, it is offensive to hear something like this. The blonde remains unperturbed. He understood that something like this would happen, so he prepared in advance. The maids were brought to send Celia to the fitting room. Less than half an hour had passed. The hero also went to get ready. The lady looks at her beautiful reflection in the mirror. Her dress sparkles, just like her prepared skin. Of course, it's all nice, but she's incredibly tired. Here we must admit failure. 5 minutes ago, the maids were fluttering around her like butterflies. Less than half an hour had passed. The hero also went to get ready. The lady looks at her beautiful reflection in the mirror. Her dress sparkles just like her prepared skin. Of course, it's all nice, but she's incredibly tired. Here we must admit failure. 5 minutes ago, the maids were fluttering around her like butterflies. It's hard to believe that Calix took care of everything for the date they had scheduled. The girl is wearing someone else's clothes for the first time and feels not entirely comfortable but quite confident because her image is wonderful. A brunette distracted her from her thoughts by opening the door and seeing that the gentleman was already waiting outside. As she exits, the blue-eyed woman apologizes for being a little late. Making him wait, as soon as she sees the man, she is speechless. Her eyes sparkle with delight. It is impossible to hide. The snow-white suit suits her hair and skin tone perfectly, although this is obvious considering who it belongs to. The girl, with her mouth open, notices that her lover is becoming more and more beautiful every day. It is impossible to look away because it is too difficult. The blue-eyed girl falls silent. She needs time to look around. Hugging the heroine with one arm, the man calmly notes that she has fallen in love. Even more deeply, this is immediately noticeable. Calix often asks questions about love. He needs some kind of reassurance. It is very important to him to be able to feel special loved by some servant. Usually, the beauty answered in a way that was not precise. She needed to maintain the image of being in love and naive, but now the heroine understands that she speaks about her feelings completely. Sincerely, nothing can change. She really gives in. It is worth admitting that she had to lose. The young man was quite pleased with this answer. Smiling, in response, the young man suggests going ahead. He extends his hand to show that he does not mind being nearby. Of course, the lady cannot refuse. She nods, and now the time has come to go for a walk around the village and beyond it into the forest. The two walk together, the man constantly talking about something, making his interlocutor laugh. People around gasp as soon as they see the couple heading along the path. Everyone is ready to drop what they are doing to look at Calix. He will always be an important person, especially after what he did for the residents. It's no wonder that the girl is walking next to such a young man. She still seizes every opportunity to admire him, of course. Beauty is an immeasurable concept, but this does not mean that the girl does not have her own thoughts on this matter. The girl herself did not notice how she blushed scarlet, all because of the moment that lasted too long. Stopping, the hero examines his friend. She does not immediately understand what the problem is, but they ask her, "The baby is blushing if the sun is too hot. Maybe it is worth taking an umbrella." This will help cope with the problems. Waving off the beauty, asks not to say anything. She thinks that she is completely fine. Blue-eyed tries to explain she's just never been on a date, so she's worried Celia needs to wake up. She blushed so much that even those around her noticed. If she doesn't pull herself together, it will get worse. The situation will be bad. For Calix, what's happening is also new, so he has to react like this. The girl lowers her head. She doesn't know what to say next. A man wouldn't waste his time on someone. It's precious to him. It's impossible to imagine him asking someone out on a date. If it weren't for the situation the heroine found herself in, everything would have been completely different. The heroine had long ago realized that her help with insomnia and lies were helping her cope, otherwise no one would even have looked at her like at all the other servants. The brunette doesn't stand out in any way. The beauty was so lost in thought again that she accidentally tripped over a stone lying on the road below. The blonde man quietly asked her to be more careful. It was nothing worth accidentally breaking your nose and then suffering. Next time, the man won't catch his girlfriend, so she should be even more careful. Her life is at stake. The blue-eyed girl freezes and nods, although inside she understands that there will be no second time. They will never be able to be together like this again, enjoying the moment. Something is nagging at her again. The gentleman feels left out. He asks why the girl is so sad. She thinks about what would be best to say in response. She won't have another chance, so she needs to take advantage of the opportunity. Given now, the little one will seize it well. The heroine smiles, although it is terribly fake, but it should inspire confidence. Everything is fine after all. At the last moment, the girl was grabbed, and in short, it is an honor for her. She promises that she will have fun from the heart. Everything will definitely be fine. From now on, the woman will be more careful. You need to try to do everything much better, but you shouldn't expect nothing. After this, the day was extremely busy. First of all, the two went to the garden, then went for a ride on a boat and looked at the beautiful nature as it is. When midday arrived, a beautiful mat was spread out on the grass, on which a variety of dishes were placed. The heroine immediately began to eat. It seemed that her hunger was stronger than expected. The beauty looked truly pleased, watching this spectacle. The young man smiled. It was good that Roman had brought him the secret thing back then. The day before the meeting, the gentleman ordered the book to be obtained. The man praised the assistant, hoping that next time he would do something equally wonderful and useful. The reaction was stormy, and the brunette froze in shock at what was happening. From the moment Calix was born, he spent almost all of his time with Roman, serving as almost a full-fledged parent advisor. And more despite the actions that were performed on a regular basis, the boy never said thank you. Not once in 600 years had anything happened that the man desired. All these years they had done a lot for the leader, from helping him govern the state to being small benefactors. Now, however, praise had come literally for nothing for a book called A Date That Will Make a Woman Crazy. Opening the first pages, the blonde man carefully studies everything. For a perfect date, you need not only to dress well, but also to be able to anticipate all the desires of your partner. Closing the publication, and the young man smiles. He is a jack of all trades, so he is confident that the day will end well. Now, a few hours have passed. Everything will be over very soon. The date is coming to an end, so you should enjoy your tea. The girl thanks. She likes to eat something good. Especially after a long walk earlier, the girl mentioned that she would like to drink tea. She needed something warm. Finally, the snack was over. The blue-eyed girl leaned back, calmly exhaling to rest. The heroine was illuminated with joy. She continued to play a wonderful game. She needed to be as good as possible. She liked how it turned out. The brunette heard the guy laugh. All dates with him were like this, isn't it obvious? The man also liked trying something new. The most important thing is that they are together in response. The girl only laughs for this, he frowns, clarifying what happened that made him laugh. So much the heroine explains that everything is fine. She did not want to seem rude. The little girl is happy that this was the gentleman's first date, and she is glad that he was satisfied. The blonde man also can't do anything but smile back. Evening gradually approaches. The sun sets behind the horizon, rising from the grass. The protagonist points to the path. It's time to leave. The girl continues to shower him with compliments. The young man is beautiful today. They will escort him to the estate so that nothing terrible happens on the way. The blonde suggested doing it a little differently. He wants to be the one who will accompany the lady and do everything in her comfort. The blue-eyed girl freezes but assures that he is not obliged to do anything at all, because as an aristocrat, he is not obliged to do anything given his even higher status. Still, the perfect date should end well at the end. There will be the only right moment. No one knows when such a chance will come again, perhaps never again. Now the evening has come, the stars are spread out in the sky. Calix really did walk the heroine home. He fulfilled his promise. The date was over. Now they would never see each other again. Strangely, this day brought even better memories. Making her want something different, the distance would now hurt. Although the girl thought that she would continue to be afraid of the dragon, the brunette stopped in her hallway. The young man puts his hand on her shoulder, promising that they will see each other again later. His heart is pounding wildly inside. He can't believe that everything will end like this. If he leaves, it will be worse. The beauty runs forward, hugging her from behind and begging her not to leave. If you think about it, the blue-eyed girl is behaving incorrectly. All these years, the man inspired fear, even though he was not nearby. His ominous promise alone was more than enough. It is impossible to think that even in her wildest dreams, the girl ever hoped to end up in the same bed with Calix. The girl wants to be as close to the hero as possible. Now that they are in the same bed touching skin, it becomes even more pleasant. This feeling does not go away. It makes you feel better. The heroine fell asleep as soon as it was all over. She was tired. The strange feeling did not go away, even in her sleep. Unfortunately, this is true. Celia cannot cope, but for some reason she tries again and again. She asks the man not to be angry. After all, he has a bad character which not everyone will like. The blonde smiles with his looks and skills. A bad temper wouldn't be out of place. It serves as a good addition. The girl closes her eyes. It's still bad luck that everything is exactly like this. She simply doesn't have the strength to say anything more in response. Only now does the beauty realize that she doesn't know who she's talking to. Opening her eyes, the lady realized that she'd been chatting with the gentleman all this time. She still loves him anyway. It's clear what's going on. Jumping up on the bed, the brunette freezes in horror. Only now does it become clear that she spent the night with Calix again and took the initiative herself. The little girl asks for forgiveness for accidentally opening her mouth in her sleep. Everything was wrong. The girl doesn't know what to say but tries to explain something. The man was going to leave his friend. She was sad that she got a little angry and therefore said all sorts of things. Obviously, everything was provoked by the anger that rolled in at the moment, gradually forming. Nearby, the blue-eyed one screams that she meant something else when the heart is broken. Hatred towards the whole world appears. Initially, everything was different. The heroine was angry, not at the head of the estate, but at her fate, which showed her problems. The girl was in such a state that she accidentally misspoke. I want the words to be understood and accepted. Correctly, bowing his head, the young man asks if the lady will be angry if he leaves. Even if it's not something nasty, the girl will probably be upset. Usually this is considered something in the order of things. The beauty is again reminded of what she said about a terrible character and the fact that nothing is happening. Now this is an awkward moment. The man forces the blue-eyed woman to lie back down on the bed. He just realized that he doesn't like to hear something like that because it is considered wrong, especially when it comes to the maid, so leaving her alone should not be done under any circumstances. The girl freezes. She clutches the blanket tightly. Whatever it was, she didn't expect to hear this. Her heart starts beating faster again. It's failing. Her consciousness, her ears are red as if they're about to explode. This also means a lot considering the whole situation. Such small but noticeable details add questions. I want to stay calm. That's the most important thing now, because if something happens, it will only get worse. It's unclear why there's such a sudden reaction. She's not worthy of talking about love. It can't be that a narcissistic dragon would be to her taste, and it's so clear that this is unrealistic, even more so than it seems. The man, in other words, just confessed his feelings the next morning. Roman is annoying, the blonde buzzing in his ears. The hero had no right to spend the night with the maid Without even warning, he could have at least sent a message. It seems that the brunette decided that something had happened to the gentleman because he began to get even more nervous. This is completely wrong. He is above all this. Be that as it may, it was worth thinking before doing something. Calix turned around. Laughter is heard. It seems that he behaves like this for the first time. The young man lost consciousness. It happened too quickly. As is known, the world consists of a superworld, where angels rule and with them their head, the Lord God. Of course, there is another side of the world. In the dungeon, everything is decided by demons. They are the most terrible creatures. They do not know how to stop and do not intend to do so. There is a middle world no less important in this place. The dragons rule. They are busy doing everything as best as possible, but first of all for themselves. Calix, as a member of the ruling family and a creature who is destined to inherit the throne, is obliged to think about the heir. Roman constantly reminds us what needs to be done and how to properly comply with everything that is required, but everything goes wrong. The blonde is not the least bit interested in raising children. He does not need it because there are other things that interest him in this world. In the end, the man was able to do what was required. He found a suitable person to play the role of a puppet. An assistant was sent on a mission to determine who would be elected, because initially there were many candidates more than worthy. Among the members of several families secretly serving the dragons, the man chose the one who could play the role of a figurehead ruler in order to avoid suspicion from the omniscient aristocracy, and a commoner was chosen as his wife. A special bride show was organized. Roman once again tries to convince what needs to be done. Not much is required from the dragon. He just needs to come to the palace and approve the chosen candidate. Then he will be able to return back to the estate. The blonde sadly looks somewhere to the side while he was thinking, asks to plan everything so that it would be possible to return in a couple of weeks. It seems that this is a short time. He needs to make sure that my lady is perfect. But no, it seems that the hero is not bothered by this at all. The assistant doesn't yet know whether the owner intends to return back. He calmly explains that he really wants to visit Hainan. The best thing is that the owner said that very soon all the inhabitants will return back. Then it will be much better. The hero must remember that he must find the northerner who stole his half of the essence. But now the conversation turned to something else. The young man made a promise that he would definitely be there. He needed to be in this village. Celia said that without her beloved, she would die. The dragon has no normal words to describe the horror of the situation. He wants to scream. The young man, as usual, behaves inappropriately, obviously wants to find a ruler in 2 weeks, and refuses to marry. He is even ready to postpone the coronation, and all for the sake of some stupid servant. The hint was taken. It seems the girl really did sink into his soul, which still confuses him because this is not typical for him. The man is not yet ready to admit it even to himself. Unfortunately, in the end, everything was not. As he initially thought, he just wanted to let the girl love him, but nothing more. Curled up on the bed, the guy is coughing a little. Obviously, he is not feeling very well. Perhaps the best thing to do now is to call Zelena Dolsk to help. Obviously, it will get much better if she is nearby. Nothing can be done during the rut period. Someone who absorbed some of the essence should be next to him. So far, Roman hasn't managed to find that northerner. It's a good thing the gentleman liked the girl, otherwise things would have been really bad. The blue-eyed girl found out that everyone from the morning shift was somehow released from work, which of course is considered strange. It is assumed that the man has long since left, but for some reason he decided not to even say goodbye. Celia is punishing herself. She had no right to think, and she should not worry about the person who actually still wants to kill her. On the contrary, she should be glad that they will never have to meet again. Now the hero must forget about his essence. He won't get it anyway. It's clear that the lady felt something similar during their date. It seems the man has become attached to her, but one way or another, Calix promised to finish what he started. He won't be able to escape his justice. Of course, since those very words were spoken, the man has changed a lot, but the fear still does not go away. Strangely entrenched inside, when the young man leaves forever, Celia will also leave the plains. For some reason right now, in my head I hear the voice of my beloved promising to return. The girl was distracted from these jokes of consciousness by one of the maids who came running to tell her something Mr. Roman calls the blue-eyed girl to quickly run to the estate. The beauty remembers who that man is and immediately lights up with happiness. Apparently, the aristocrat had not yet left for his castle. It was strange that there was such a reaction, but the thought that the girl would now see the young man sent a pleasant warmth through her body, making her smile even more than before. The heroine immediately went to the palace. She stood in front of the door. Before going inside, you need to think about what will happen next. You need to ask the guy when he will go to the capital. You want to assure yourself that the attitude towards Calix has not changed at all. He is just as hateful to her, and there is no point in thinking about anything else. The girl needs to know when she will have a chance to escape. Roman finally opened the door and greeted the maid. The man is not feeling well right now, so she needs to try to lull him to sleep, as is usually the case. It is desirable that it does not take much time. It can't be that the gentleman is sick. He's probably just pretending. When he goes inside the room, only then does the girl realize that it was all a lie. The young man is really worse. Maybe he should have called a doctor. The brunette says goodbye. It's time for him to leave. It doesn't matter where the dragon is going. What's much more important now is what's happening to Calix. The lady rushes to the bed, asking what's going on. Grabbing his hand, the man hoarsely asks why they came to him. This is not what he thought. The body gives off a smell. It's strange and alluring. You want to snuggle closer. The blonde coughs, distracting you from everything that started running through your head. The man assures you that all this is nonsense. It would be best to just leave. It's not the most important thing. The maid has no idea what to do. It would be more logical to obey, but at the same time, the girl does not think that this is right. The beauty froze for a second, thinking about how she should act so as not to make things worse. The body has made a decision for its owner. It moves on its own. The baby promises that she will give him a massage. After all, since the hero is sick, he needs proper care that will do the job. The young man, instead of agreeing, abruptly pulls the girl towards himself. Taking advantage of the opportune moment, the blue-eyed girl must understand what she is talking about, even though she feels incredible disgust for herself, feeling attracted to a person who is ill but still cannot do anything about it. Everything was like a fog. The couple found themselves on the bed. They gradually undressed each other. The touches were unusually hot and passionate. The girl closed her eyes to enjoy this magical moment. The man doesn't understand what's really going on, despite the fact that he should be drawn to a true partner. He's content with what he has now. Moreover, the fever pain and dizziness, all of this goes away when he's next to Celia. She's like a pill that will save him from everything real. The presence of a beauty incredibly calms the man. Now he wants to be with her as long as possible. The girl reaches out with her hands, asking the gentleman to hug her as tightly as possible. Strange that everything is exactly like this. Hugs help to cope with everything, although this is not supposed to be. The girl could be the person who ate the essence. Back then, as quickly as this thought came, it left. His head Roman was already informed in the morning that all the workers who left the estate to go to work had returned back just a few months had passed. An assistant came into the room to inform the young man about everything. It seemed that the guy's condition had returned to normal. The only thing was that his eyes were filled with something malicious. The man ordered them to leave. Everyone returned, and it turned out that there was not a single northerner among them. Everyone was from the plains. It seems the fever has subsided. Says Roman, only the one who has absorbed the essence can help, such is the law. Calix asks not to continue. He has long ago built a logical chain. All this time, Celia was somewhere nearby. She was just trying to hide. It is not clear why, but the hero was absolutely sure that she could not be the one who shared the essence with him. He promised to rip out the beauty's heart no matter what guesses he could make. He never suspected her as a person who had done something terrible. It seemed that the lady had simply fallen head over heels. In love with him, the essence was right in the lady's chest. The day was approaching its middle. The girl was constantly thinking about her beloved. In fact, she was completely worried. That day, she completely lost her head and seduced the sick Calix. After their last meeting, the two had not seen each other for a whole week. The girl did not dare to desire the guy kiss him. Sleep with him when he was ill, maybe that's why it's a miracle that she survived. Today the man finally called the maid to his place. If you ask nicely, maybe the young man will be able to forgive the prank. The heroine went into the room. The blonde is sitting there. He is silent, looking at the floor. For some reason they don't even look at her. However, it's even better this way. It will be easier to say sorry. Blue eyes glow. She wanted to apologize for being rude and for what happened that day. When the young man was unwell, the answer is still only silence. Usually he treats her much warmer, but something went wrong here. Obviously, the little girl should have said sorry. For something else, something more terrible. The girl still doesn't understand. She hopes that she will be forgiven. The couple slept together more than once. It is better to stop frowning and just accept the apologies that are offered to him. Frowning, the man asks why he should do this. Even the heroine was overcome with sadness. For some reason, he suddenly became serious, but if she asks something, the situation might get worse. The girl has many shortcomings. She admits this. However, it is not considered that the brunette is a bad person. She has never done harm to people. If the beauty was at fault, it was only out of ignorance. She acted as she thought was necessary, but apparently, due to her inexperience, she disappointed the gentleman. For some reason, a smile is visible on her face. The man was dissatisfied. She simply did not know how to properly express her feelings that were pouring over the edge. The blonde asks a strange question. He is not sure how he knows that she is not lying. There is no more certainty in anything. This is a logical action. The caterpillar insistently asks him to simply trust her. It's not difficult. They've spent a lot of time together. It's important for a couple. The dragon seems to be testing his patience. The lady must be sure that she will be honest with him from now on. Otherwise, they won't be able to communicate normally. Of course, in this case, the man will ask only one question. The heroine freezes halfway with her mouth open when she is asked where she is from when silence falls. Irritation begins to build, which is now pouring out. The question is not difficult. The gentleman does not see anything wrong with answering. Yet the girl immediately remembered something that she had not attached any importance to before she completely forgot that the time had come. Now it is clear that everything fits together. It was impossible not to notice. I remember that a few months ago a man told a guest that people who had left to work would soon arrive. They should also be nearby, but for now it was impossible to know which of them had arrived from the north. Recently all the workers had returned back to the village. Blue-Eyed doesn't understand why she wasn't prepared for the questions. For some reason it was decided that the danger had passed. Calix was still the same dragon who swore to rip out his heart and tear his body to pieces. The girl had been with the boy for so long that all the information had completely flown out of her head. The blonde asks why the girl is silent. She should be more open. Her eyes sparkle mixed emotions in them just as fear splashes inside the brunette. The beauty asks herself to calm down if the dragon knew that the lady is from the north. He would not ask strange questions but simply begin to act. It turns out that her friend has doubts. Lowering her head, the heroine tries to say something, but there is still a lump in her throat. The girl is simply confused. Even if she says something, it is unlikely that the young man will understand what this place is because it is very far away. She needs to continue to behave casually. The answer is not what the man needs. The girl answers about Hendrit. It is a small southern village. Everything has been said, it seems. The hero is not very happy about this. He obviously expected something else. Too many questions. What is wrong? Everything worked out, but the young man doesn't understand anything about what she's thinking. The only question asked the last time was, is there really love in this relationship? Celia quietly answered yes. She had to rip it off just to save her life. She's really trying to look sincere. I want to know if the girl is really telling the truth. In which case, if the nod is something important, the girl can leave. The body does not move from the place. Instead of leaving, the heroine does not understand whether she will be punished. The original order was not to fall in love and be a little more modest. Celia herself understands everything she needs. To find the right words, to leave the game as a winner. The brunette should have gotten away, but everything changed again. The blue-eyed one asked to be allowed to put the dragon to bed just like before. The girl finally understands why she said something like that. She hoped that this question would help calm her anxiety, that Calix would start treating her warmly again as soon as the situation calms down. She wants everything to be like before, but hope is dying, gradually fading. It is obvious that the answer is no. Silence is more eloquent than any words the woman is about to leave. They will call her if something is needed. At the last moment, the hero intercepts. The lady's hand pulls her towards him and kisses her. The man did not allow her to leave, although he asked her to do so, but still did not insist. Stepping back a little, the lady asks if they are really angry with her. Initially, they wanted to punish the lady. Then they called her a liar. Suddenly, the hero became cold as befits a dragon. In fact, the beauty doubts. She is in great confusion. It is a pity if something really is wrong. The blonde orders to stop swearing if he was really disappointed. The girl would have been finished off long ago. The man himself doesn't know why he behaves this way. That day, the heroine again had a thought that she was no better than those that had not left her for all 10 years. Fear came over her again, but this is not the simplest thing. It is absolutely clear that Calix must never find out who Celia really is. If he accidentally finds out the truth, she will never be able to wash away the shame. Roman stands next to the master's bed, watching the couple lie next to each other. The brunette, of course, knew that the man was in love with her, but he would never have believed that the dragon would decide to save her life, renouncing his own essence as a great animal. As the prince's assistant, the young man must come to terms with what awaits him. However, if something goes wrong, he will deal with Celia himself, and then everything will end faster than expected. The maiden woke up very soon, jumping up on the bed. She froze, covered in a blush. Calix said that he could not fall asleep. She just wanted to wait until he fell asleep. No need to think too much. The heroine did not want an awkward situation to arise. Finally, the excuses were finished. The beauty quickly got dressed and ran out the door, realizing that she had nothing more to do there. As soon as the lady disappeared, the blonde immediately woke up. This once again proves that she has part of the essence. Looking menacingly into the assistant's eyes, the man orders him not to enter his bedroom without permission in the future. The brunette apologizes, but wants to say something else. It is unclear why the young man decided to give up his dragon essence. A calm voice answers, "It had to be this way," but only shouts come in response. The young man doesn't understand what is being discussed. He is ready to find a more suitable person for the ruler than that green-haired girl. He just gives the order and everything will be done in the best possible way. Even this option doesn't please the man only. Celia is perfect. She is the only one. There is not much medicine in this world that could help cope with insomnia. Only this. It is noticeable that the young man himself has not yet understood what he is feeling. It is interesting that when the guy is about to look for that very essence, sadly lowering his head, the king promises that as soon as he sorts out all the affairs in the castle, he will immediately begin. At the same time, the coronation ceremony will take place. Everything should work out. The words flew out of the mouth. But then a terrible pain began in the heart. It is getting more and more intense, but the most dangerous thing is that it is not clear where it came from. The man involuntarily recalls all the girl's words. She spoke about her origin and love, which will remain forever, simply because everything is as it should be. Jumping up on the bed, the blonde lowers his head into his hands. It was a lie, the most brazen of all. When the lady in tears admitted that she was in love with him, she was not telling the truth. It seems the man has gone completely crazy. It is not clear why his heart continues to ache. It seems as if the hero really wanted to be given love. The blonde tries to get the unnecessary thoughts out of his head. He can't possibly want something strange. He's probably just driven by the desire to cast a spell on the peasant woman in shackles. If the lady wants to run away, she will not be able to leave her beloved. She will be forced to hold on as tightly as possible, and then her heart will be torn out. For this, she needs to meet Celia now. The hero makes his way forward through the bushes closer to the house. He was going to hear what he wants, but notice that the girl is near the estate next to some person. The girl assures that she appreciates the good attitude, but is not yet ready to date anyone. However, the man asks her to think about everything carefully again. The gentleman heard the young man confess his love, and anger flared up inside him, which he could no longer contain, and he ran forward, standing between them. The boy doesn't understand what he's doing. For a second, he lost control of himself. The blue-eyed girl has to ask what's going on. She's near her house, and it's all very strange. For some reason, a lousy feeling has settled inside. Love is really the lot of the weak. People themselves don't understand how much they suffer from something that isn't worth their attention. A creature like a dragon doesn't need all this nonsense, but it seems like he just felt hatred for another person's feelings. This is definitely new to him. The girl thought that they came to her in the middle of the night just to punish her. The strange thing is that she is smiling. It would seem there are no funny moments. Eric, who has been standing behind him all this time, greets Calix. If he has any business with Celia, it is better to resolve it on the spot so as not to drag it out for too long. The blonde had completely forgotten about the boy he would only get in their way. They needed to find a way to get rid of the hated freak. The lady had already finished the conversation that was obvious. While the hero smiled his signature smile, the maid looked at someone else, which infuriates her even more, because it no longer fits into any framework. The girl decides to talk to Eric later. He is already about to say goodbye. The dragon does not forget to mention that from now on, he will punish the lady every night, so it is better not to come at this time. There is silence in the heroine's house. The guy sits and gets angry. She thought that she would burn with shame when Eric confessed his feelings to her. But then the prince came, who only made the situation worse. The young man is talking about some kind of nonsense, believing that his friend will make a child and then force his beloved to work and will most likely cheat on him. Dating such a person is forbidden. Trying to justify herself, the lady reminds him that she always perceived him only as an acquaintance. I wonder if anything has changed after the discovery of the most wonderful story of love. No one has ever confessed to Celia before, so she doesn't know what to answer. The master makes the decision staying away from that boy is the right thing for him to do. Of course, it is obvious that a man doesn't care about everyone else, but his people should not associate with the scum of society. They deserve something bigger and more important. Blue-eyed either misheard or she really is an exception to all the rules. Behavior so similar is only allowed to her, and it's worth remembering this. The dragon forbids her to love others, but at the same time, he is happy enough to say that she can treat him well. The green haired girl probably guesses what is what, but is still afraid to admit it. The living embodiment of narcissism cannot love a simpleton or anyone other than himself. And if the lady even hints at anything, she will be immediately killed. Coming closer, the young man carefully places his hands on her shoulders, thereby distracting her from the thoughts that had been inside her all this time, causing her to doubt. It's time to begin the punishment. The girl is not going to obey. She says that she is a fragile girl. If she is hit too hard, it will be bad. I wouldn't want the heroine to no longer be able to give a massage. She's asking not for herself, but for the gentleman because he's the one who needs it. If they don't beat the girl, it means they'll cut her salary. Celia was always punished that way. Maybe in that case, they'll mercifully let her go. It will be better. The young man is no longer angry at the girl for loving him. On the contrary, it makes him happy, evoking some special feelings. The hero said that everything was fine, but in the end he wanted to do something else the little girl could refuse, but it was not within her power. Calix was almost always next to the maid. The blonde couldn't move away. It seemed to him as if his life literally depended on it. It was strange. Something else happened. The door opened at the most inopportune moment. The gentleman declares that this time he has a wonderful gift that will show his true intentions. The dragon immediately snapped his fingers and made Zaid fall to the floor and fall asleep. It was his own fault for sneaking up like a rat, and in general they were also to blame for deciding to do something indecent in a public place. At first, it seemed that the guy had died, but in the end everything turned out better. Celia looks, a voice is heard from behind. A man wants to tell her a secret. In fact, the blonde man has magic. He never talked about it. Of course, the girl knew everything, so this is not news. The phrase aroused some suspicion in the lady, but such trifles tend to fade from memory over time, forcing one to think about where and what to do. Soon, the heroine forgot about everything. It was hot outside, but it seemed not so bad. There was a replacement dragon on the field. It was hard to believe that he arrived to help. Either the lady is hallucinating or Calix is really carrying a box of potatoes. The oddities in his behavior don't end there. There are even more. All the servants are so busy cleaning, threatening that they don't even have time to have lunch. Celia is going to bring some groceries. Eric appeared from behind. Smiling, the man offers to help. It's usually good to see a guy nearby, but after that confession, it's awkward to be a meter closer. The girl assured him that she could handle it herself. At that moment, a blonde man appeared and took the basket. He had long wanted to try bringing someone food, doing it for his own reasons. The blue-eyed woman stands and blinks. It seems she has too many questions. They ask why she is standing. It is better to go so that people do not wait. You can't let them down by doing something wrong. The girl acts as if she is really stupid, but she cannot allow herself to carry the basket. If a man goes there, everyone will think that it is okay to give small errands. Eric follows behind, but a second later he is ordered to leave. The brunette understands that he is going in the same direction, but in the opinion of the blonde, it would be a good idea to obey so as not to cause trouble. Blue-eyed still doesn't understand what's going on. Maybe it was sunstroke. Since that evening, Calix has been acting even more arrogant than usual. For some reason, the heroine came to one of the strangest conclusions. Perhaps the gentleman took a liking to her friend. As soon as Eric decided to help, it all started. The dragon appeared out of nowhere, snatched the basket from his hands, and chased him away in the lady's head. She imagines these two and how they want to help each other. Last time, when the two were choosing gifts from the nobility, he told the girl to take a bunch of men's things for herself. It turns out the blonde had a plan from the beginning. Something in the lady's heart sank. When she imagined those two together, she actually felt sick, especially physically. Celia is probably just in shock that the gentleman is capable of love. The girl is distracted from her thoughts. She runs to save her friend from the influx of other people gathered nearby. It's somehow strange that everything turns out this way. The maiden spent much more time with Calix than with Eric. It would be more logical to fall in love with her. The lady doesn't understand anything. Maybe her love and game were too annoying. Nothing is known anymore. It's all too mixed up. Last time, the man declared that love was complete nonsense, and he used the maid to get closer to his lover. She has to be as sincere as possible. The brunette thinks about her recent words, and it turns out that all feelings are useless and mean nothing to him or to those around him. The blonde man doesn't understand what's going on and says that he doesn't love anyone. Sadly lowering his eyes, the lady asks to tell the whole truth. She will be able to accept the truth. Blue-eyed noticed that the gentleman loved Eric in general. It was even obvious for some reason he continues to vehemently deny it, despite all the problems. Lowering his head, the man does not understand how to react. Sometimes he wants to understand what is going on in the lady's head. She behaves completely incomprehensibly. If you think about it, even if the lady understood the truth, it doesn't mean that she should care about it. Obviously, she wants to take possession of not only the body, but also the soul. In this case, it's better to be close and stop talking about the person who is not worthy of getting to know more. I wouldn't want to hear such nonsense, it only spoils everything. Since the maid knows the dragon so well, she knows that he is not lying. After thinking for a second, the lady nodded. It is easier to agree with what is than to swear. In fact, Eric is completely unsuitable for a normal relationship. Everyone likes him and someone is always pestering him. The girl clarifies that in the end, you need to be sure that there is no love there. The blonde is angry that they don't believe him. They love him and therefore you need to trust. Of course, the heroine is incredibly attracted to the man. He frowns. It's a pity that you can't rip out her heart to check everything that it is connected with. Soon, everyone in the village learned that Calix would soon be leaving. Everyone who wanted to try their luck in his favor again came back and something happened. The gentleman brought with him a truth serum, a very valuable thing. If a person drinks it, he will speak only the truth for half an hour. It's a cool thing for people, like the owner of the estate. He doesn't give up. It would be nice to give it to the artisans. You can even find out the real price for their work. Upon opening the jar, the boy recoiled. The smell was truly awful. It couldn't be associated with anything. Unfortunately, that's true, it tastes much better. Rowena is asked to try it. The girl screams that she won't drink. She throws the bottle away. The thing flies at the dragon. The hero can't take the medicine. Otherwise, everyone will find out his true nature. The blue-eyed woman jumps forward. She understands that now is the time falling on the man. The beauty understands that the mixture has hit her. Her hair has turned black. The little girl doesn't understand what she's done. She'll now be killed and then her heart will be torn out. Instead of the most horrific scenarios, the hero asks if the beauty is okay. A stupid question. Even now, the heroine hopes that Calix will turn out to be a stupid dragon and will not be able to put two and two together. It will be more difficult for him. It seemed that the world was destroyed, but now it will crumble to dust, taking the maid with it. The man leans the blue-eyed woman against the wall. The hair color suits her even more than before. There is no point in trying anymore. Her conversations will no longer have any effect on the hero. Obviously, death will come. Now it is a little sad that everything will end this way. Calix is still thinking about what to do. Strangely enough, there is sadness in his eyes. Perhaps he is thinking about how exactly to tear him to pieces. The brunette sincerely asks to forget about the essence and let it go. She understands that this substance is very valuable, but it will not relieve the pangs of conscience, that's for sure. It became clear that the man was being asked to leave the village. He asked the last question, asking if the lady could survive without him. He would like to know the true answer. It would seem that the girl should be worried that after she is released, they will never meet again. She seems to be in love, but now she just wants to survive. Apparently, it was hard all this time. The girl was only pretending, playing her part. The man grabs the lady by the cheeks and kisses, not giving her the opportunity to respond. Now, it must be disgusting, considering that there is a dragon in front of her, amazingly. Celia even went to bed, continuing to play bed with the unloved one. The heroine asks, but it seems that now they will no longer believe her. This is the end all this time. The brunette was satisfying her hunger. Probably they will let her live another day. Pushing the woman away, Calix exhales. He is angry that the lady revealed herself. She herself really does not understand the consequences that would later manifest. Themselves were clear from the start. The blonde thought the girl really liked him, but after listening to her, he let her go, deciding to let her save her life for a while. Celia is not stupid. Of course, such an unpredictable character can change her mind at any moment and rip out her heart tomorrow or the next day or in a month. Blue-Eyed is scared. She is really worried. Maybe she should run away. But it will be bad alone. She will have to look for a companion who can at least cover her. Just outside the window, the sound of horses' hooves was heard. Rowena was heading somewhere. She was going to the capital to take part in the bride show for the new ruler. The brunette remembers saying she wanted to participate, and everything suits her. It seems that this really happened. It turns out the lady wasn't joking. The maid believes that if she marries the prince, she will gain fame and fortune, live happily ever after, and enjoy every minute in the castle. The worker wants to forget about grueling work and potato soup forever. Confidence is creeping in everywhere. Even if she doesn't win, she'll get to look at the aristocrats and eat. All participants will be able to spend the night in the palace and try wonderful treats. Today, it was a bit scary. The problem was the truth serum. The girl leaves before they decide to try something else on them. The blue-eyed girl realized that she had a chance and asked to take her with him. There was no other way out anyway. The girls went ahead, and a man from the village asked where the maids were going at such a late hour, along with the cart, especially not theirs. The duo was loaded with extra work, but there was no need to worry. They would get everything done, so the guy could go and rest. They were unlucky, but still not to worry. So they left Hainan and went to the imperial palace. It seemed as if only a happy future awaited them, nothing more. In the morning, the gentleman was informed that Celia had run away. It seemed she did it only to hide there was anger on her face. She should not have behaved like that. During the night, the two finally reached the capital. There was beauty everywhere in Hainan. There were only a couple of beautiful city streets. Here they are everywhere, only for one reason. All the passers-by are dressed like Calix. The girls were almost hit by a cart. They managed to jump out of the way. You just have to look away and you can immediately get into trouble. It's too easy. Blue-Eyed asks where the whole crowd of people is heading. Her friend explains that the whole stream is heading to the palace for the viewing. It's a great event. It seems that those gathered are from noble families. This is evident even from their clothes. And not only there are commoners among the crowd too, which means that maids are allowed there too. The outfits of those girls are much more beautiful. Perhaps the girl did not know that beggars also have their own ranks. Those from the capital get scraps from the king's table, but those from the villages only get corn. The brunette assumes that they occupy the lowest rung, although this is obviously not the case. The friends arrived in the capital and can now be considered better. Having climbed the social ladder, Celia is happy. She and Rowena are not beggars. They are just in a difficult situation, only temporarily. There is a commotion in the castle. It seems as if everyone is laughing at the arrivals. It's good that at least a clean dress was found. The event begins first. All the participants are required to go to the Oritz Palace on their left and enter their names on the list. After the journey, the aristocrats will be settled to rest. They are temporarily prohibited from having their own personal servants. After passing the first test, they can bring one person. The first test is, tomorrow the girls are furious. They don't like the rules. The show is starting to look not as great as it initially seemed. Rowena asks to go ahead, otherwise, all the places will be snatched up. She wants to know where they will be accommodated, but they did not even pass the first test. The rooms will probably be small. It turned out that the room was huge and wonderfully decorated. It was so spacious that you could even run around. And besides, there was a lot of food on the tables. Life in luxury was wonderful. Blue Eyed cannot come to her senses and believe that it seems the lady did not flee to this place in vain. She considers this comparison with her previous life to be quite acceptable. Even though they are friends, the girl cannot tell her the whole truth. Calix will never guess that his former love has arrived in the capital. A maid came into the room to greet the participants. All the necessary information about the first test was contained on a piece of paper wrapped in an envelope. The heroines thank them, and if they need anything, they can call for help at any time. Rowena believes that this place has everything, so nothing will happen. The girl opens the letter and freezes in horror. They even have the highest quality paper. There is nothing special inside, it is upsetting. The redhead asks how her friend understood what was written. Of course, they didn't understand anything bad. Like the maids can't read. The next morning the same maid came. She took the women to the Barrio Hall, where the first test among the participants would take place. It's unclear what will happen because the beauties couldn't find the strength to read the letter. I'd like to think that everything will be fine, but the assistant said they couldn't help in any way. The door to the hall closes. They wish them luck, and as they sit down at the table, the lady begins to worry. While Rowena concentrates on the strawberry cake, an old man comes out onto the balcony, smiles at those present, and thanks the heavens for the opportunity to gather in this place to change something. The future of the Apel Empire rests on the fragile shoulders of the ladies. Duke Grio Delson stands before them, and His Majesty has ordered the first round to be conducted for him. They say that this man was the only one who saw the ruler's face. The girls heard that the man appreciated the old man's merits and appointed him his first assistant. Blue-eyed sees a tray with something on it. She also sees large letters, but cannot understand what the essence is the first test is writing. After these words, each one is required to write down what is important to them. Based on the results of the exam, half of those present will leave the palace. The test begins only an hour is given. The brunette worries even more because in the end she couldn't even read the poster on the wall above. Rowena also doesn't understand anything. The girl laughs easily without holding back. However, she is far from the place of the prince's bride. She is certainly not worthy of this. Calix is still angry. Roman enters the hall, but they attack him as they told him not to disturb them, especially without permission. The servant announces that the beauty's location has not been discovered. The brunette has some guesses, but nothing more. Not only Celia was missing, but also a girl named Rowena, who, when she spoke to the other maids, said that she dreamed of becoming Ampel's bride. They went together to the capital for the bride show. By taking part in it, they would receive shelter and food. For the first time, this is something good, but by running away, tail between their legs, to the castle, the lady made a mistake. The gentleman's behavior is extremely confusing and frightening, but it can be understood. Who would have thought that the girl would slip away like that, pretending that nothing happened between them? It must be hard for the blonde to realize that the dragon essence has slipped through his fingers again, and besides, he hasn't been able to sleep a wink since the last day. If Calix finds his former lover, she will be in trouble, but it's better that way, because if the meeting doesn't happen, he will turn the middle world into mountains of ash. The young man's thoughts are completely different. Of course, he wants to catch the fugitive, then drag her to a shelter, and then cook her favorite dishes. The girl said that she was embarrassed by her illiteracy, and that she would be taught to read and write so that she would be even happier now. The dragon still has doubts. If he leaves Celia again, she will run away. He needs to be there all the time, no matter what. This time they won't let her. The gentleman arrived at the castle in a matter of hours. The viewing had already begun. He wanted to receive a list of those participating in this competition. In the evening, Roman was called into the office. Among the candidates for the role of the prince's bride, there were 6 girls named Celia, but only one did not give her last name. The first test has already ended. There was supposed to be a simple task. The answer to the question, what in this world is the absolute truth? That's what was required. The man jumps up and starts screaming. The girl is unlikely to pass such a test. Without being able to read, it's terrible for her. The blonde continues to vent his aggression. Only a lunatic could come up with something like that. The young man has forgotten that he wrote out the assignments himself, and now he orders his assistant to find out what Celia wrote. After a few hours, the guy managed to find the necessary piece of paper. Of course, the result was not encouraging. One day, the girl would let herself down even more. The next morning, going out onto the balcony, the hero noticed Celia. His face immediately lit up with joy. Roman remembers that they wanted to catch the girl so as not to let her escape again. The man doesn't know how to help her and how to make her want to be close. If fear makes her abandon her beloved, the road back will be burned. Roman doesn't believe that in front of him is a fierce dragon who is nervous like a teenager in love because of some simpleton. He can't let her go just like that. The results are written on a huge poster. Many participants are happy, some are upset. It looks like Celia failed and only noticed now, although she had a feeling. It turned out that Rowena made it to the second round, which she didn't expect. And now she's happy. The girl is sure that things will be a little easier for her. Unfortunately, since only one passed, the second will have to leave the castle. After thinking for just a second, the brunette suggests that she has an idea. As a contender for the place of the king's bride, the red-haired one will be given a new room, and a new servant will be with her. It's good that she was lucky enough to stay nearby. The chambers are even more spacious than the previous ones. The girl says that she remembered that the second stage of the tests will allow her to bring one of the assistants. The first test wasn't difficult because the lady painted a picture. There were wheat fields and a beautiful sun. It's hard to believe that she hit the mark. Rowena is a true genius. Her friend would never do something like that. The redhead is a little hungry and asks to bring some food. As she steps out into the corridor, the brunette looks around to figure out where to go. Someone is catching her behind her. Of course, it's Calix. She should say hello to show respect. Blue-eyed is shaking. She should have stayed close and not run away. The girl is asked what the reason was. She was afraid that in the end she would be killed. The dragon assumed that he didn't have to do something so dirty. The man wouldn't let the lady go, but on the contrary would take care of her. The blonde was playing with life like a cat with a mouse. The woman has the right to hope that she will survive. The baby is screaming. She understands that despite this, there can be no talk of any hope. The hero responds with the same energy, asking why the lady left him. Hearing this cry, the girl shrinks. She is afraid that a blow will follow now. The heroine has mentioned more than once that she is afraid of the gentleman pressing the beauty against the wall. The blonde man clarifies what else she really feels. The lady doesn't understand what they're talking about, even though they haven't seen each other all week. It's impossible to even squeeze out words. The man wants to know the truth. His eyes radiate sadness. For all the time that the two spent together, the girl must have truly loved a sensitive issue. For the nerves, it only gets worse. Calix usually doesn't care about how others feel. He is busy perceiving himself as a loved one, but nothing more, a false confession could hurt his pride. Now that he knows the whole truth, the beauty understands that she has no reason to pretend. No matter what the brunette says, death awaits her in any case. Looking straight into his eyes, the lady admits that she has never loved. It would be strange to fall in love with someone who promised to rip out his heart for essence. Celia has been thinking about what happened all day. She hasn't eaten at all. She seems to be unwell. but in order not to make Rowena worry, the lady assures her that she is fine. The heroine doesn't know why, but she still thinks it's not clear whether this can be considered luck. But today the maiden left Calix safe and sound. The little girl doesn't understand what happened, because it seemed as if the young man was holding back tears. But at the same time, it seems that all this is complete nonsense. The dragon cannot cry. The very thought gives her goosebumps. The heroine is in pain. Either she is sorry that she had to upset the gentleman, or there is something else there. Rowena distracts me from my thoughts. She has some interesting story to tell. In the second stage, the aristocrats will compete in the art of war. I have to wait 10 days. The queen must be present at headquarters and participate in drawing up the training program for the soldiers, so she needs to understand this matter. The friend had never held a sword in her hands. Before, it would be difficult. The girl was sure that she would not give up, but after the first training session, she fell down exhausted. The brunette decided to go get something to eat, and of course the door was closed in her face. It completely slipped her mind that the heroine was now not a participant, but a maid. Blue-Eyed understands that it would be strange if she asks to bring something to the room and eat without the mistress. There should be something nearby for the servants. The beauty got lost and wanted to get help. As fate would have it, the woman ran into a blonde man and she didn't like it. The hero probably still wants the death of the one who wears the essence. The girl tries to completely ignore the man, but he asks her to follow him. The man remembers that when the girl told the truth about her feelings on that day, he swore that he would not just kill Celia, but would prolong the pleasure. Not only did the lady deceive him, but she also decided to say something like that to his face. He should have dealt with the problem right then and there, but strangely enough, he felt at ease around her. The blonde hasn't eaten anything at all for the last few days. Roman asks to at least take a break. There are tears in his eyes. They are almost unnoticeable, but still, the assistant does not believe what he sees. He has been by the master's side since his birth, but he has never seen this side of him. The reason why he reached this state is extremely clear. The man still remembers the fact that the girl went to bed with him and constantly confessed her love. But in the end, the lady simply took advantage of him. It seems like the situation is getting worse. It will certainly only get worse, and this is frightening. The dragon decided to help in any way he can, even if it is not enough. The heroine sits down at the table next to Calix. She does not intend to go hungry any longer, so she begins to devour the food with great desire. Because the heroine was in such a hurry, one piece flew into her face immediately. Tears appeared in her eyes, and you could hear the girl crying. Fortunately, the situation ended without bloodshed. Looking at the lady's lips, the dragon does not hold back, as if something forced him to move forward, so he kisses. The young man immediately jumps back and realizes what a mistake he has made. He looks around. Flushing bright red, his cheeks are clearly burning. The blonde comes up with the strangest excuse. He thought his girlfriend's lips were dry. So the best solution came to him on his own. Dragons always do this. The blue-eyed one lowers her head. Now she realized that he did this more than once. She becomes sad. The woman eats because she was ordered to, but she cannot get what she just learned out of her head. Feelings she has never experienced before fill her heart completely. 5 minutes later, the young man moved his chair closer. When the lady wanted to move away, the hero ordered her to stand next to him so that they both would be more comfortable. In fact, the hero treats Celia because he wants to torment the ungrateful girl to her heart's content. She will have to eat next to the one she fears most. The piece doesn't go down. The throat the lady wants to give up everything and run away. Despite her victory, the hero does not feel that everything is normal. The situation has changed. Perhaps the young man isn't being funny enough. He chuckled, took the glass, and showed it to the drink. Of course, he didn't mention what kind of liquid was in there. The juice is disgusting. The baby can't breathe normally, but still obediently drinks everything that's in there without making a single extra sound. Celia is probably worried about the poison, but in reality, she just took natural vitamins that were intended for the master. Putting down the empty glass, the lady asks with her eyes whether it is possible to continue eating, as if she does not understand that it is impossible to poison a person who keeps the essence. Perhaps the lady is in pain. She is eating without any pleasure. The man cannot stand the silence. It is definitely necessary to explain what is what, otherwise it will only get worse. Of course, the heroine is worried that at some point she will simply be killed. But there is also another reason. In fact, the guy cannot kiss everyone whose lips are dry. A person like a maid might misunderstand that people are supposed to kiss only those they truly love, not friends or other people. Without letting her finish her sentence, the young man merges with the lady again into one whole. The girl was worried that someone else would steal the one she liked from under her nose. The man is acting too rashly after all he should have thought before opening his mouth. Since the heroes still came to talk, the girl clarifies what happened on the day when the beauty said that she did not love. She hopes that the dragon did not cry. Most likely the lady imagined it, but it looked as if there were tears in her eyes. Only now the man realized that this really happened, but without noticing it, he missed it. When Calix replayed everything in his head, he realized that it was all ending. The hero was pushing the maid away. She was the first person who made him cry. It's hard to believe that all this time the hero wanted to love. And in order to be loved in return, the girl should finish her dinner and, if necessary, call Roman to her. It seems the girl blurted out something wrong. They tell her that everything is fine, but it is clear that everything is going wrong. After the door closed, the blonde falls onto the sofa. He is simply speechless. He can't believe that the hero loves Celia. It even sounds funny. The dragon's assistant arrived in the hall. The girl tells him that the master suddenly left somewhere. Perhaps the brunette knows the whole truth. Obviously, the girl is worried about her beloved. First, the hero asks if the little girl said something bad. You need to watch your language even in the most extreme situations. The blue-eyed one doesn't like the fact that she doesn't know everything. Calix, as it turns out, is the ruler of the country. His Majesty the Emperor, the servant, is scared. She couldn't even imagine such a thing. Now, the woman is obliged to understand why the viewing is being held. It is better to be above all this. Give her heart and get lost, and not interfere. Of course, such details are known only to those close to him. The blonde does not like to attract too much attention to his person, so he tries to hide. Celia understood everything and left. When she returned to the room, the girl met with her friend. She completely forgot about Rowena and did not tell where she was going. Apparently, the lady had seen Calix when the maid went out into the corridor to go looking and saw the girls causing a stir because they saw the master. It's bad luck that the brunette didn't even hide from the young man in the capital. She must be wondering why he came to the castle, perhaps. He had some important business. Calix is the emperor's favorite. His personality is suitable. He is attractive and he has a lot of money. It is immediately obvious that he is a close friend of the ruler. Now it's clear what rumors are circulating around the lady. Roman ordered her to keep her mouth shut. She can't let it slip even to the closest people. Only now, when silence fell, the blue-eyed woman began to think again and fully understand the man's identity, although the lady should have guessed earlier. The only thing that worries me is the words about the bride. Show Calix said that love means nothing to him, but then he will decide to choose a wife for himself. The girl screams in anger, but only to herself. So as not to spoil anything, the guy dared to deceive her, saying what he can do. Night has fallen. The heroine is unable to sleep because she is angry. Tomorrow Rowena has a test. She should not be woken up. So the little girl decided to take a walk, carefully opening the door. She slips out into the hallway. The brunette doesn't plan to wander around all night. She'll just make a circle and come back again. Luck. The woman bumped into the gentleman. As it turned out, the young man was unable to sleep. Massage usually helped, but now it was all over and it was impossible to sleep. For some reason, the lady was embarrassed. It was noticeable even on her face, which turned scarlet. He was in the middle of a matchmaking. There was no need to worry about a person of such importance. The brunette offers to give a massage, to help. Somehow, of course, such an idea is good, but there is one condition. The girl wants to be paid. For each session, Celia demands 10 years of life. Calm and measured, blue-eyed, what was said seemed like a good idea. But it was scary that suddenly he would decide that it was too much. After listening, the blonde raised an eyebrow. His interlocutor probably had no idea why humans hunt for dragon essence, since given the opportunity they gain longevity. Now the girl understands all the details. Her beloved will live no less than her friend. She can be calm about what will happen in the future. To begin with, it is better to explain visually. The life of a dragon as powerful as Calyx is practically endless. Many live so long that they eventually commit suicide. The girl freezing clarifies what the man will do to himself. In any case, this is irrelevant to the matter. In general, everything should become clear now. Still, suicide sounds like something too radical. But since he gave such an example, it means he himself thought about it. In which case, the lady asks for 100 years of time it will never come to her. After the conversation, the couple went to the bedroom, sitting next to the young man. The woman gets ready. She feels strange. This feeling does not leave her consciousness. It's hard to believe that my friend agreed to let me live for a whole 100 years, but there's still hope that he won't change his mind, so I can live with it. In addition to all this, the question remains, why does a man need a massage? It will, of course, help him fall asleep, but it was previously stated that touching is prohibited. The dragon looks into his eyes silently. He doesn't look tired when the question reaches his ears. He answers that he can't sleep when there is someone nearby whom they haven't seen for a long time. The woman is about to start with a massage, which should actually help. Her hand reaches for her neck, but then she is pushed away with shouts. "Don't you dare touch me!" It would be better for the brunette to try to tell something it is not clear how it will be received, but sometimes when a lady looks at a short life, she wants to live in peace as long as possible. The man sitting in front of her Calyx is handsome, rich, and even has magic powers. His life could become truly exciting, and if things are still boring, he should at least try growing tomatoes once. It seems the man was misunderstood. Again, it's really starting to irritate. It seems that by mentioning that story, the young man showed that he wants to die, but this is not true. Looking down, the young man accidentally let it slip. That even now the blue-eyed girl is very cute. You don't just say things like that. His face turned red, signs of falling in love. The man, of course, promised not to kill the lady, but this does not mean that he loves her. Now he asks her to move away, but there is no hostility in his voice. The brunette is happy that they feel something for her, but she doesn't see what's so special. Everything ends with one phrase. It turns out that dragons are always attached to their essence. Since the girl has absorbed a part, the acquaintance involuntarily becomes aroused at the sight of her body, and the girl will probably feel uncomfortable with what was said. The blue-eyed dragon doesn't care. This should have been understood earlier. She rejoiced too early. No one will love such a servant. The woman didn't think that words would make her so upset. Celia had better leave despite her bad mood. The girl quietly asked to stay just like before. They had been close many times before. Nothing would happen if they did the same thing again. The hero asked for the last time to tell him if he needs to stop. It all ended 2 hours later. Lying in bed, the girl lowered her eyes. She liked everything, although it was not noticeable from her facial expression. The heroine found herself in Calyx's bed again. She thought that at least once she wanted to feel loved. The blonde joyfully asked what the reason for her thoughtfulness was. The man says that it is impossible to fall in love. The young man wants to tell her again. Love is such a wonderful feeling that there is no point in trying to understand its value. It's amazing how the ruler has changed. Apparently, he changed his mind because he found a suitable bride who helps him to be better. Once upon a time, a maid was told that she belonged to a young man and was told not to feel anything. Obviously, even then, the essence was meant getting out of bed. The woman turns away. The beauty sets out in search of her destiny. Freezing in horror, the gentleman asks if she really doesn't love him so much that she's ready to behave like this. You won't get any attention from a dragon. It will be difficult to find someone as wonderful as him, but it is possible the girl's heart is too beautiful to go to someone else. The heroine has her own preferences that no one knows about. Perhaps the king can change everything, doing everything to ensure that there is only happiness here. The lady didn't have time to think about who she liked, but she had more than enough time to figure it out, and in return there were many servants to choose from. The plan failed when the body is looked at like that. It is impossible to leave. Not that Celia really wanted love, but she is sad about finding a bride for the master. The brunette can't say that she now feels something bright. This contradicts the promise in the dragon's world. Such a thing is an empty sound. He didn't want the maiden to succumb to this. It's stupid to even dream of a future with Calix. He's only with his friend because of the essence in her heart. Nothing else interests him. The more the girl thinks about the truth, the worse she feels. She should calm down. Firstly, the blonde will never change his mind. This is normal. Secondly, the rich narcissist whose cute face can conquer anyone really stole the maid's heart. She wished it was a stupid joke. Morning has come. The lady's eyelashes are being watched. They twitch a little, perhaps. She will wake up soon. An idea of what they can do together begins to take shape in her head. First, the couple will go to breakfast. Then they will laugh about something. It becomes clear that the man is really in love with the person he has almost passed the stage of acceptance. When the ruler first felt bright emotions, he began to deny them with all his might. He told himself that all this was temporary, that it would soon pass and there would be no problems. If you think about it, his feet always carried him to Celia. No matter what happened to the point of madness, the young man again and again wanted to hear the ringing laughter, which was like a melody for the ears. Shortly before that meeting with Celia, Roman showed up in the office. He asked the gentleman if he was sure of his feelings. Sometimes everything was too complicated. The essence's effect may be to blame. It's a shame it's gone this far, because you can't just give away that very fruit that contains magical power. The gentleman himself does not understand what is what and why he needs to believe. It is too complicated. He will still have to decide. Finally, the lady woke up. The man immediately asked how she slept. He would order her to prepare water for washing or help her get dressed. The heroine is about to leave. Right now, her friend wants to go with her. Obviously, the lady will look for her true love as she promised. In general, the blonde is also curious. It seems the young man wants to know who the brunette likes and who she doesn't like. He needs more time to find out. Surely there is no one better than Calix. The girl can handle it herself. The man is better off focusing on his own viewing. The hero hurries forward, not allowing anyone to go far. Everything is not so bad. There are knights in the corridor. Perhaps they will be to his taste. It turned out that the guy himself didn't notice how he asked about different people. 15 times the girl never answered. That's exactly the reason. Blue-eyed has no choice but to compliment one of them. If it's true, it's disappointing, huh? No matter how you look at it. There is no one better than the dragon. The way he behaves is starting to get boring. It's perhaps too much. It seems better to go outside the palace and look for a person there, although even so, it is likely that no one suitable will be found. The man picks up the girl in his arms. Of course, they calmly fly out of the window. The lady should not have forgotten who was in front of her. When the body turned into a dragon, the girl froze in shock because now the city was as if in the palm of her hand. Celia says that it is very beautiful how everything looks, but at the same time she is scared. She still remembers who Calix is. The image is just like that day in the north when the girl was thinking she was told that she would definitely be protected. It's a strange feeling this dragon once threatened to kill and now promises that everything will be fine and calm. And the heart starts pounding again, but this time not from fear. The girl laughs, saying that she has fallen in love just a little. They are going to land on the island in the south of the continent. The Fae always frolic. This is exactly why they came here. The brunette asks if she can see the babies. They say they are all very cute, but it is worth knowing that they have a disgusting character. The boys themselves didn't even notice how sunset had come, and the blue-eyed girl still can't believe that she reached such wonderful lands. The girl sees the sea in person for the first time, and in this case, it's true the view is truly stunning. If the heroine wants, she will be shown the whole world doing it in the best possible way. The dragon's power is truly limitless. The blonde was clearly asking for praise. Now it's better to admit that she has an ideal in front of her. There's no other like him. The two were back to square one. Again, he spent the day with his girlfriend so that she could finally answer that very question. The man assumed his true form, lifted her into the sky, admired the beauty of the local landscapes, together with the lady, and even brought her to such a magical place as the island. The heroine is confused. She definitely cannot stay with another woman. A narcissist like him will never put a lady first. For some reason, it seems that with every second, the desire to get away from Calix crumbles into dust, leaving no trace behind. The beauty extends her hand to the guy's face. It is impossible not to love him. She is unable to give up her feelings that are lodged deep inside. Bowing her head, Celia says that the man in front of her is a coward with tears in his eyes, and it is not clear why they are treating a lady like this. Gently hugging the lady, the man promises that he will never do anything bad. He never wanted to upset his beloved. The young man himself does not understand what he is apologizing for. The girl is definitely in love, but she is not worthy of a man like Calix. He is the best. At that moment, it was impossible to utter a word. Confession wouldn't have changed anything anyway. In the end, the blonde would live his life happily with his chosen one. In the morning, the brunette got up. She herself does not remember how she returned to the room. Rowena asks how her friend is feeling. She was sitting in the room the whole time. The first thing that catches the eye is a broken arm. It is not clear what happened. The whole problem is that the girl lost in a sword fight. Despite how it all ended, the lady believes that the situation is better than it seems. She is proud of the redhead. The girl was very scared when her unconscious friend was brought into the room. The blue-eyed girl tried to explain. It seemed that the heroine decided to rehearse, because in the end they would both soon be thrown out into the street. If you count, there are 41 Ruden. Left, this is not enough, even for the return trip. After all, sleeping on the street is already too much food. Also needs to be found somewhere. Rowena suggests asking for alms. There are a lot of rich people in this place, and all you need to do is collect a few coins. A voice was heard from behind. The blonde had been standing to the side this whole time, but now he understood that the girls needed money. Having asked to go with him, the hero gave his friend a bag with the required amount of funds. If you need anything, you just need to ask. The girl should be more careful and behave better than she already is. The brunette became a little sad, although she should be happy. Surely a woman should not spend the night on the street just because she is the keeper of the essence. Despite his generosity, the beauty does not want to take money from Calix. She wants something completely different, his heart, but he doesn't care about that. First, it would be necessary to explain what the coins are for Rowena. Failed the last test, now she will have to leave the palace, so she needs to buy tickets home. In fact, some things can be changed. If the friends need work and a place to live, Calix will definitely help them stay longer. The girl thanks the gentleman from the bottom of her heart. She is pleased with the care she can continue to sleep on the bed. This is wonderful news. The man heard that the heroine's friend in Hainan was engaged in sewing, and when she recovered, she might try herself as a tailor. Exactly 2 weeks have passed since the difficult second stage. The couple is close, and from that day on, they began to spend more time together again. The guy promises that he will wait until the maid returns. Nothing matters, knowing that they will be alone again. Celia walks down the hallway, her face burning, and she has to tell herself to calm down so as not to show her feelings. Someone pushed the lady. She turned around and started to apologize, but seeing the blonde smile, she realized that she did it on purpose. The lady had a question, so she asked if it was true that the commoner mistress had failed the second test. His Majesty gave permission to stay in any case. They are not servants, there is no need to humiliate themselves. If Rowena decided to take part in the viewing, she was not quite right in the head. It's no wonder those girls reacted that way. They didn't know anything about relationships, now they're making fun of me. The woman was irritated by what was happening before she could open her mouth. A knight stepped forward and silenced her. The blonde was the first to become active, shouting that she had been pushed first. The man should have been thrown out long ago, and she was staying under a made-up pretext. I'd like to answer about the lie, but the knight helps. In which case you can contact him, he will clarify with the senior management. No one can stay in the castle without a good reason. I hope that no more accusations will be thrown at people. It would be better to go and ask right now so as not to waste a drop of time. Leaving the brunette alone, the man left with the others. The blue-eyed girl herself didn't understand what was going on. They helped her so selflessly, and she couldn't even thank them in return. Someone threw the things out into the street. Those girls had already tried to annoy them several times, but they couldn't come up with anything smarter than childish pranks. Something is missing from the suitcase, only after some time. The lady realizes that one of the things is lying on the top branch. The lady bumped into that knight again. He called her lady, although before that everyone called her something else, treating her disrespectfully. Since the blue-eyed one hit herself, they check her head, realizing that it hurt. They should have been more careful. The man pushed the lady at the last moment. He saw the barrel. Someone wanted to douse the body with water. Those girls crossed all boundaries. The young man accepts the gratitude. Although everything went wrong, he wanted the best. But it turned out, basically as always. The status does not allow you to catch those who threw things into the tree, but of course a friend will help you get them out. The brunette doesn't quite get it right, so he suggests trying a different approach, picking up the lady in his arms and lifting her up. The beauty didn't want to burden anyone so much, but she decided that she would try. Now they were in return for the help. It was still strange to hear someone address her in a respectful manner. She had never heard anything like it. Celia introduced herself with a smile, and the man responded that his name was Dane, and they were incredibly pleased to meet each other properly. A blonde man is sitting in a room thinking about how wonderful the weather is today, and when his friend comes over, he should definitely invite her to go for a walk. No matter how you look at it, there is not a single man who would suit the lady so perfectly. But the knight turned out to be better, sweet, and kind. The brunette met him again at the most inopportune moment, and the young man assumed that she was being bullied again, interfering with her life. The girl was walking when someone pushed her into the lake. She managed to keep her balance, but her wallet with money went under the water. There's nothing to be done, but it's a shame Dane doesn't think long and jumps into the lake to get his wallet. It won't be difficult for him. 5 minutes later, the man appeared on the surface with the money in his hands. He wasn't the best swimmer, but everything worked out. There was nothing inside, which is disappointing. Apparently the coins fell out when they hit the water. Of course, money is important, but there is no point in jumping again. A man's life is much more important. You should take care of yourself more than anything else. The young man had no selfish intentions, but his help did indeed look strange. He simply thought they were similar. Dane became a knight at a young age and was bullied. Previously it seemed that fighting back was not worth it since he had never encountered anything like this. When the antics crossed all boundaries, the young man finally fought back, after which they stopped bullying. Now it's just a memory. Now the lady understands everything. Well, the girl believes that she can stand up for herself. because she will try. In any case, it's worth telling everything to your superiors. Otherwise, the problem won't be solved and will only get worse. The heroine will try. It's nice that they decided to help her. Everyone has their own problems. Few people will worry about a stranger. In fact, you want to protect such a lady as soon as something happens. The brunette has the right to turn to get what she wants. The woman hears such words for the first time, but for some reason she has a sense of déjà vu. It seems that Celia experienced something similar. The girl is distracted. There is someone else on her side. This person also helps her, although sometimes he goes overboard. With Dane, everything is clear. He is naturally like an angel in his character, but Calix is a different situation. After all, his wife is incredibly lucky. After that conversation, the girl saw her friend several more times and they had to chat about all sorts of little things. While the brunette was suffering from unrequited love, a man burst into her life like a fresh wind swirling around. The joy was reflected in his behavior. The dragon lost his temper and decided to ask what was going on in the lady's life lately. If Calix has no effect, then it's clear that the knight is to blame and the girl is truly enjoying spending time together. Recently, I managed to make friends with a new acquaintance. He brings happiness, but this is not the answer the gentleman expected to hear. He gets even angrier. The blonde wants to hear all the details. Stop beating around the bush. They met several times, but I wonder where. The blue-eyed girl didn't see a problem, so she told the guy where they met and what they did together. The girls who bullied her were also mentioned. Celia should have come next to her and told her everything, but in the end she couldn't because it would have looked terribly pathetic, like a request for help. The man assures that everything will be fine if the lady asks because she was promised protection. I don't remember what those girls looked like, but Dane took them to a higher up. Maybe he could find out. The blonde understood. He nods instead of continuing the conversation. On the same topic, he asks if Celia likes hugs. The girl doesn't want to give a precise answer. She touched the water with her hand when she flew on the dragon. Nothing compares to that. It's good that what was said worked. From now on, it's better to turn to the gentleman and forget about that wallet that floated away. It doesn't mean anything anymore. If a girl wants, they can even shower her with diamonds, instead of saying the lady asks for a hug. The man is happy that everything turned out this way as soon as she asks. He is ready to give her a castle or lay the whole world at her feet. Once upon a time, a lady thought that all you needed to be happy was money and a roof over your head and that everything else was completely unimportant. If there is no Calix in the future, at least there will be gifts left tearing herself away. The heroine remembers how she was told that love means nothing. The heroine would rather remain alone if she can't be with a man. She doesn't think she can cling to feelings that have no future. It's better to fall in love with Dane. At least he doesn't have a fiancé. In any case, there isn't much choice, so it's easier to keep quiet and not think about it anymore. The brunette would like to spend the rest of her life with Calix, admiring his smile. The guy is offended that a woman can love another. In fact, because of her friend, the heroine's standards have skyrocketed, and she will not be able to love an ordinary person. A woman is better off not dating anyone else, even as a joke. She smiles, promising, although she knows that she will behave differently. Still, if the lady is left alone, she will never forget anything, but Calix, being immortal, will certainly throw everything that happened out of his head. When the allotted 100 years that the girl will live, keeping the image in her heart, have passed, she will meet to give her essence and her life. The hero dreams of Dane, who is next to his girlfriend Celia, turns to say something. Apparently the woman has some pretty good news. In her arms, the beauty is holding a baby with dark hair like a knight. Jumping up on the bed, the blonde promises that he will not let that bastard get closer to her. She will never belong to him. The hero cannot restrain himself and kisses Celia. He understands that tomorrow she will go to her friend again. He needs to stop her somehow. In the morning, the lady really got ready. They will see each other again, but in the evening, the girl sees that the man is thinking about something he probably doubts. The girl calls his name, but louder, but again, nothing works. The brunette comes closer, touching his forehead. Maybe he is sick. I would like to apologize for the way she clung to me. In fact, just last night. The young man was as healthy as a bull, nothing to worry about. Since nothing works and the lady is not stopped, she nods at the door, saying goodbye. Roman arrived at the gentleman's room and found him extremely gloomy. He didn't say what was wrong, but simply asked to tell him why he had come. The assistant found the young ladies who bullied Celia. Only one made it to the next round. She can be eliminated immediately. The young man, frozen, asks if this is really all that can be offered. They must suffer just like the maid did back then. Sitting on the floor, the blonde ponders what his beloved is doing, completely ignoring the dark dragon. On the way to the room, the hero noticed Celia. She was just talking to the knight knocking down the door. The man runs away, screaming wildly that he will not allow it. On the way to the lake, the guy began to think about what he could do. Perhaps even killing would be a good option, but his girlfriend would cry. That's not good. Finally, a girl is visible from the bushes next to a brunette, who invites her to dinner, promising that he will cook the most delicious duck. Mr. Calix stepped forward, saying that he would roast the meat right now if there was a desire, and the lady had a feeling of déjà vu in her head. Instead of going with her beloved, the woman promises that she will come later. She has not finished talking yet. Too late. The lady realized that she was wrong. She immediately apologizes, promising that she will immediately go with him will not be late. Now it is much more important to calm Calix, because he is like a wave smiling at his friend. The little girl promises that they will see each other tomorrow. It's strange that as soon as the two were alone, nothing happened. It seemed as if the girl would immediately be dragged to bed. The young man sat Celia on his lap and began to feed her, asking if she liked the cakes, but she could still object. She can't sleep because she's hungry, so it's better to feed Calix, but the girl still can't say her thoughts out loud. It seems that the heroine is no longer afraid. She looks quite peaceful, yet no matter how hard he tries, tomorrow she will still go to someone else. The man had no other choice. In the morning, the girl discovered that he was burning up, obviously ill. The girl had always checked her temperature before, so this time it was a good idea the dragon had thought of everything. The brunette is about to go get a cold towel, but she is stopped and promises to return. Blue Eyes explains that Dane will understand everything as soon as he finds out the details. He is a normal person, there is no need to worry. Pretending to be sick turned out to be a great idea. Now the beauty won't go anywhere and she won't have to worry. Of course, Calix couldn't pretend forever. After 4 days, his insidious plan was revealed. It was terrible. The girl was worried, not knowing why her condition was not improving. There were no symptoms other than a high temperature. Perhaps the hero himself does not suspect how complicated everything is. It is worth calling a doctor before it is too late. The brunette gets out of bed. They didn't manage to catch her, but they have to explain that it's also worth asking Roman what it will be easier that way. The man asked for a hug to make it all go away, but without even looking in his direction, the heroine slammed the door. The assistant came running quickly. It was hard to believe that the gentleman was gone again. It seemed that the full cycle had not yet passed and there was no need to think about it. Very soon, the young man realized that everything was fine. Strangely enough, the girl explains that the guy had been suffering from a fever for several days. The temperature is actually a little higher than usual, but there is something else. It should be obvious from the young man that he is incredibly ill. The heroine begs him to take the time to examine him. Even though he is a dragon, health is always a bad thing to joke about. Celia was asked to bring a towel while she was away. The dragon orders to confirm that he will recover in a few days. The friend was about to meet the annoying knight again, and the man thought that he would make her stay if he pretended to feel unwell. Here, the hero jumps up. Celia has been gone for 5 minutes. He needs to go looking for her requests. Don't work, although if he walks around like this, the lady will figure it out. In the corridor by Fate, the two ran into a maid. She was sorry that everything ended this way because she was really worried. The blonde should be pleased. It was fun for him to laugh at him when he behaved like that. He should have told the truth right away. The girl ran away, offended by the fact that she could not sleep at night because of her worries, although she could not help. When the woman realized that her friend was healthy, it was already too late. He had fooled her. Now she ran to the lake, where of course she met Dane, his face showing concern. The little girl insists that she is fine, but sounds unconvincing. The knight asks if that boy is making fun of her. Of course, Calix hurt the girl's feelings, but it cannot be called a mockery. It is difficult to understand, but it seems that he wanted his beloved to be nearby. To change the subject, the girl quickly asked why the knight had gone to the lake again. It turned out that he visited this place every day. The brunette recounts the moment he arrived at the castle. This is the third time in recent weeks, but new details are emerging. Another important moment is when they met Celia. Perhaps the lady did not attach any importance to their meeting, but the man cherishes the memories. It was then that he shared his experiences for the first time. He still had trouble finding his way around the castle, and his fellow soldiers avoided him in every possible way. A new friend appeared to whom he managed to open up almost immediately. Until now, the young man did not believe that this was possible. The man comes to the lake again and again, especially since he sometimes meets there the one for whom he does it. The brunette can't say why she goes there, probably for the same reason her legs constantly carry her towards the pond. The couple's conversations are always pleasant, and it's impossible to simply refuse them, considering that they don't yet have any acquaintances in the castle. The knight tells how he continued to walk, even when the man took the maid away and she did not appear for several days. The young man had another reason he asked to extend his hand and pours those same coins from the bottom into the palm. At first, it's hard to believe your eyes, but it's still true. The green-eyed one learned to swim even better and got everything. Dane couldn't stand to see the lady sad, so he decided that he had to find what he had lost, and next time he wouldn't take such a risk. Smiling the girl sincerely, thanks for everything that was given to her. It's nice when someone cares without asking for anything in return. Now my friend looks more like a happy dog, his face reflecting calm mixed with other feelings. Celia is asked if she is free today. Perhaps they will finally be able to have dinner if she doesn't have any plans. Anything is better than jumping in front of Calix again. So the heroine immediately gives her consent without further thought. Dane leads the lady out of the carriage. She freezes seeing the luxurious mansion. For some reason, it initially seemed that he lives very modestly, but no. The lady sincerely respected the ability to cope with any job. She had a good impression. The man behaves like an ordinary person because he does not want to use the family name. His goal was to achieve everything on his own. Now that it was time for dinner, it was worth entering the estate. The young man would go out to catch a pheasant. It was not yet dark. The girl was met in the hall by assistants, and half an hour later, Dane returned all his clothes covered in scarlet bloodstains. It turned out that on the way to the forest, the hero came across a bear. There the young man replies that that is why he brought it to the estate. Of course, the knight didn't really want to harm the animal, but everyone knows that bears are not the best sparring partners. The brunette guessed that her new acquaintance was strong. After leading her to the table, he asked her to sit down and begin the meal. Half an hour later, dinner was almost over. The couple moved on to tea, the green-eyed man constantly joking and smiling. Celia is a very strong girl. The man is happy that he was finally able to get to know her better, to understand what is going on in her head. The young man had previously said that when he saw those young ladies bullying him, she immediately remembered her own sad experience. Out of self-pity, he constantly wanted to protect his friend, and perhaps at times he was too zealous. These two have similar thoughts and views on life, but the girl is much stronger, so she can cope with any difficulties on her own. Even though this is just a personal opinion, it always becomes easier once you can share your experiences with others. The guy's always ready to listen to his new girlfriend. He will never turn away from her. The girl can't believe that they are offering her support to make things a little easier. It makes her want to cry truly. Noticing tears in his eyes, the young man jumps up to apologize. He didn't mean to upset her. Maybe he should go back. Celia wipes her eyes. If the man doesn't mind, she would like to be heard right now. It would help a lot. At this time, Roman went to the master to report that since the maid left, she had not returned. The man just wanted the lady to be close. He couldn't bring her by force because he needed love, not drama. Blue-Eyed said everything she was asked about her feelings. Perhaps the king really did everything out of spite, but then it should be angry. Of course, the lady usually holds back her anger, but it looks like she is very sad now. It is already noticeable. Unable to contain herself, she cries again. It feels like her heart is about to break. It's hard to bear. Apparently, Celia loves the man very much. It's all written on her face. You don't even need to clarify what's what. The knight admits that the prince is also not indifferent. The girl tries to convince him that this is not true, that a big mistake was made once. The brunette will say something now, perhaps only as a friend, because the beauty is important to him. The man has long since forgiven Celia, and perhaps even managed to fall in love with her. He has nothing more to desire. Such a person must have reasons, she says. If the hero had decided to mock, he would have preferred more compelling reasons. But in the end, he acted differently. I want to just go and trust someone I know, otherwise the emotional wounds will never heal, but it's too difficult to do. Diane, as a loving person, can understand the king's feelings. No matter who he gave his heart to, the advice will work. The girl stands by the carriage and apologizes. She has stayed too long. They will always wait for her in the house. But it is better, of course, to return to the castle. At the last moment, the hero clarifies whether they are really close friends. Smiling, the lady nods. This will not change anything. Someone was running towards her. The girl recognized the man as Mr. Roman. Something had happened to Calix. He was furious. Obviously, the assistant arrived in the form of a dragon. Otherwise, he would not have been able to get there so quickly. The Virgin will sit on his back. They will fly back through the air too. It will be faster that way if the suspicions are correct. Calix can be helped. A man lies on a bed without strength. He sees a hand appear from behind and suddenly grabs her. He does not believe that his beloved is in front of him. The only thing the young man asks is not to leave. Now more than ever, he needs someone nearby to help. The woman demands to know why she needs to stay. Too many questions have accumulated and no one is giving answers. When the leader pulled away, tears welled up in his eyes. It seemed he really felt bad, even worse than expected. Waving her arms, the brunette is noticeably nervous, but asks not to cry. She will call Mr. Roman now. The young man had a high fever and dreamed that his maid had left him and fallen in love with another man. It was the most terrible dream of all. To prevent the nightmare from becoming a reality, the king will do anything for Celia. She will not be afraid of death or problems. The girl kisses on the lips, to at least slightly ease the flow of pain and words that show all the feelings. The man's heart beats strongly. His body simply burns. His voice trembles and his pleading look tears the soul into pieces. Just now, from the depths of his soul, the lady heard the answer to the question she wanted to know. Is she truly loved? The night was spent together again, but now it made them happier. A sunny morning had arrived. Nothing should disturb Celia's sleep. Initially, the young man knew that the lady had feelings for him, although in fact, it is impossible not to fall in love with a person like him. The blue-eyed girl cannot help but ask again. She must be convinced once again that she will truly remain loved forever. The girl thought that she had dreamed everything that had happened last night, but no. The king intended to repeat over and over again how much he enjoyed being around her. From then on, every day seemed like a magical dream. The girl spent almost all her time nearby, only occasionally leaving for her room. One day, Roman came to the estate again. He almost begged her to stop neglecting her duties and to pull herself together. Celia suggests that you really get back to work and not wait until the last minute. She will definitely be there. However, without keeping her promise, the lady decided to go to meet with Rowena. She is always busy, so it is not possible to see each other. They pay well at the palace, but there is 10 times more work there. Finally, you can calmly enjoy the whole atmosphere. The redhead is delighted she didn't know that the capital had such picturesque places. She had never seen such beauty either. There are a lot of people on the streets. It seems like some kind of festival is taking place. Dane is visible in the distance. They also haven't seen each other for a long time. The man reacted sharply. Celia immediately apologized for sneaking up on him from behind, realizing that it was wrong. Today is the last day of the viewing. The winner will be announced soon. Armina the Knight was given a day off just like Rowena, precisely for this reason. Blue-eyed. Shouldn't have forgotten about such an important thing, but for some reason she didn't remember. As soon as the lady was announced, she froze in horror. The girl is truly a beauty. When she goes out onto the balcony, she smiles and waves welcomingly at everyone, showing how happy she is to be there. The woman deserved the victory not only with her appearance. She cannot boast of noble origin or wealth, but she has a kind heart. In addition, she has a wonderful understanding of politics and military strategy, and is also a master of oratory. They are from the same class, but they are very different. Armina was born to be the ruler of the country. My heart is breaking with longing. It can't be stopped. The lady is better than the servant in everything. She is beautiful, smart, and sweet. She is much more suitable for Calix. If the couple gets married, it's unclear who the brunette will be. She recalls that it's common for aristocrats to have many mistresses, and such a future isn't very bright. With such talents, Celia is only fit to be an assistant. It's sad she's getting sick. She needs to get away. Rowena is asked to call a doctor and take her friend to the room. Everything should be fine. The girl waves it off, promising that she's fine and will get there on her own. She's sorry for ruining her friend and the night's weekend, but they'll see each other later. For some reason, the main character thought that she could be happy being next to her lover without leaving him for a moment. Calix will give everything the heart asks for, but not for long. Life will turn into an endless wait for his steps outside the door. The brunette knew it would be hard, so she didn't want to fall in love. Now it hurts. Someone is knocking on the door. Roman came to call the lady to the gentleman. He is waiting without further ado. The girl gets up. It will not be difficult for her to go there. As much as Celia wanted to stay close to the king in reality, everything had been decided a long time ago, and it's worth remembering that. The girl is asked worriedly what happened. It seems she was crying. It cannot be said that she wanted to marry him. If you lie about your illness, they will call a doctor, and looking for a way out of a difficult situation will be even worse than you imagined. The heroine is simply too much in love, and this is true. She is lying that she cannot believe in her happiness. The blonde apologizes for his reaction. You want to scream and ask him to stop being so sweet. The assistant was released. I wanted to lie down and sleep because I was incredibly tired after the whole day. At night, the gentleman cannot sleep, and when he gets up, the woman suggests that they lie down separately so as not to disturb each other. Since such an opportunity has arisen, it is worth asking again whether the lady was lying about her tears. There should be no omissions in the relationship. Of course, trust is not at issue, but the man simply does not want to leave his beloved alone with her problems. Blue-eyed can always rely on him. There is no need to worry. It is nice to hear something like this, but at the same time it hurts. The beauty had long ago stopped trusting people. Her parents died early and she was left with her elderly grandmother. When she moved to Hainan, she quickly realized that the people around her only cared about their problems and didn't care about anyone else. After that conversation, I finally managed to fall asleep, but in the morning, the guy started asking me about his beauty again, and it would never end. Only a dragon in the whole world can remain a handsome man for centuries. It's no wonder that the girl cries with happiness next to him. The brunette is forced to say that she cannot live without her lover. She needs to show all seriousness. Suddenly, the hero started talking about his body as well. Usually, black dragons are too skinny and red ones are too muscular. Now, the blue-eyed girl is feeling sad again. Indeed, she was very lucky, but such luck could not smile upon her, especially just like that. Celia came to Rena again. She couldn't hold back her tears. Several days had already passed. It was time to finally tell her what happened. Having explained everything to at least a friend, the woman would have lifted the burden from her shoulders, and in the end, the decision was made to reveal the truth. After hearing this, the girl began to rage. She would never have thought that Calix was like a black sheep. Green-eyed, asks to return to Hainan. The competition is over, they have earned money, the mission is accomplished. Things will only get worse for the lady with the king. She hasn't met anyone else yet, and most likely won't be able to find anyone similar. It would be better to change the environment. Since the decision has been made, we should get ready quickly. Tomorrow they will leave. It's better to hurry before the heroine changes her mind. She involuntarily remembers her friend, and she needs to say goodbye to him too. It was late. And finally, after a while, the lady found herself on a dark lake. Dane wasn't even there, apparently. It wasn't meant to be. In the distance near the trees, a figure was visible. The girl realized that Calix was standing there laughing along with his bride. It was as if my heart was in a vice. As soon as I decided to leave, the opportunity to see the couple together presented itself. Celia tells herself that there is no point in making a scene. She has no right to do so anyway. The master turned around as soon as the maid decided to run away. He looked around, not understanding what had happened. Tears are streaming down her cheeks. For some reason, the lady managed to fall in love with such a scoundrel. It's unfair. Someone grabs her by the waist. It seems that the lover again did not notice how hard it is for the lady. He feels sorry for that. The couple forgot that they lived in different worlds that would never merge into one. The woman realized too late that the blonde man was a freedom-loving person who was having affairs on the side. It's as if Miss Amina had nothing to do with it. The lady was put in her place. She didn't need to shout because there was no talk about the future ruler. Perhaps the heroine misunderstands, but once the girl becomes empress, she is obliged to marry the head of the empire. The same beauty appeared behind her, and the young man immediately asked her point blank if she looked like someone interested in an affair on the side. The blonde calmly answers the question. They of course don't know each other very well, but everyone knows that her heart was given to Celia. Calix smiles now. It's clear what's going on. The brunette froze in shock. She needs more time to understand. Amina is still getting married, but to another man. He came out from behind the tree. Apparently also took part in the conversation. Roman decided to clarify the truth since he also came. Dragons live longer. If Calix had ruled all his life, his subjects would have found it strange. Others don't need to know the details. In fact, the young man simply didn't want to have an heir. The couple knows everything. The ruling couple is obliged to understand all the subtleties. They hope for a long friendship. Calix interrupts. He doesn't understand why it was necessary to see them. At least now, two of them know him by sight. It turns out the brunette was just winding herself up all this time. It's a shame she didn't think to clarify all the details in advance. The girl felt better after hearing that everything happened because of Roman. He called the man an emperor. And this led to strange thoughts. The blue-eyed girl is probably no longer sad, but if the young man loves his other half, he must promise something. Of course, you can make many promises, but the most important thing is only one. A woman never wanted to become a concubine. If she marries, she wants to be the only one for him. She only needs to promise that the king will always love his queen. That is more than enough. What has been said is self-evident. Since the dragon has fallen in love, he will never go anywhere. Calix will never stop treating her specially. He gives his word. Celia must believe it. Soon after, a wedding took place, to which only a select few were invited. Everything had to be kept secret, but the celebration was wonderful.